Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings. Today, we're going to discuss morality, whatever that is. Um, we're going to look at the moral aptitude. I saw Brother Kanye up there for a minute. He kind of disappeared. Kanye, come back. I saw you up there. Um, but we're talking about morality, whatever that is. We're going to look at moral aptitudes and who can give advice about morality. You know what I'm saying? They say morality came from the Moors. That's what my brother Bobby Hemmett used to say. Um, well, here goes the problem with that. Uh, we confirmed in a prior space that the Moors were responsible for the overall destruction of black civilization and possibly the destruction of the world. Um, so I don't know if the Moors can tell who's right or wrong either. I don't know if they have the right to do that. No disrespect to my Moors brothers and sisters. I'm just saying. Well, back to morality. I want to look at something. Did West Africans bury their slaves alive? Now, West Africans wag a lot of fingers at us, telling us what to do and how to do things. What I've uncovered in my scholarship is that we were first and foremost sold. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, sold by West Africans. I'm bringing the noise. I got the scholarship to prove it. That the first sellers of Black Americans and African people in general were Africans. Now, I took a little pause just from a minute ago because I so much evidence. The evidence is so overwhelming that I kind of got tripped up looking for it. I was like, what book should I grab? I didn't know if I wanted to grab Dr. Snyder's book or Dr. Claude Anderson. But just to keep things fair, I'm going to Claude first, where we're going to look at black on black enslavement. We're going to look at that. Hell, let's do it. With respect to did West Africans have slaves? Let's look at some new scholarship. I haven't read this yet from Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson says, quote, Black West African sense of community was narrowly and divisively based on tribal origins rather than on the commonality of black skin. Oh my God. Let me say that shit one more time. Black West Africans, according to Dr. Claude Anderson, quote, Black West African sense of community was narrowly and divisively based on tribal origins rather than the commonality of black skin. So they can't come over here and say, hey, brother, you my brother, we have the same skin, because that shit don't work in West Africa. Wipe me down. Claude Anderson further says, and collective racial destiny. Claude Anderson further says tribal and extended family commitments rarely extended beyond the village compound. I saw that shit with my own eyes. Lastly, Claude Anderson says tribal and extended family commitments rarely extended beyond the village compound. West African societies that practiced tribalism had narrow group identity, much racial detachment, and intergroup animosity. The practice of black on black enslavement made them vulnerable to united ethnic groups, like white people, you know. Claude, bless you. Claude Anderson further says, who were seeking wealth and power at any cost. Weakened from within, West Africa had little basis for developing any broad community capable of uniting against a common enemy. Now, with that being said, you're going to come over here to America and unite with me. I call cap. What are your thoughts, Wani?
I agree. There's so much evidence of them holding people as slaves for years and years and years, and then they say, "Oh, well, no, we don't do that type of thing. We do it differently." Well, yeah, you steal people, hold them as slaves, and marry them. That's not different.
At
They
12
didn't
years
mention,
old,
yeah, at 8, 12 years old. uh, like I said, before the international community got in on them, their ages of consent were 7, 8, 9, and 10. And you can see pictures of little 8-year-old girls sitting next to 50-year-old men. So I'm not sure what they're talking about as far as morals, but they did bury their slaves alive with them. This is a common practice across the world, actually. A lot of cultures bury their slaves alive, And you can literally see the faces on some of these people in Egypt and other places that we look up to, where the people's faces are contorted in horror when they open up those graves. They wanted to get out of there. They were not brainwashed enough to know that they shouldn't be dying just because the king died. And so the morals, we have to understand that when these people come over here, they come over from countries that they believe it's okay to date 8-year-olds, prepubescent children. They believe it's okay to uh, mutilate women. They believe that these things are right, and they don't really care what the international community thinks. They come over here with those same ideals, and then they try to impress their morals onto us, which I think is just one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Black Americans have never lined up to sell their babies to tourists for sex. A lot of the people coming over
Facts.
here from Asia and Africa do just that. They set up entire businesses to lure the tourists to their door in Bangkok and other places. Their treatment of children is horrific, and I'm not even sure how they've maintained their population with such a dim attitude toward children. It's really just the end of them, and I don't know how they even have a population doing that, but they do, in fact, do it. These are people coming here, and that's one of the reasons that I'm very happy about the new immigration rules and the checking out the 14th Amendment to see if anything can be done about that, because we should not be uh, bombarded by all these different cultures. I was just looking at a post today where they're going to cancel Easter because it offends other people in the UK. Um, this is ridiculous. I don't know why the people that are receiving the immigrants have to change their cultures around to accommodate foreigners. That's not the way it's ever been. When in Rome, do as the Romans do is the way I was raised. I don't go over to other countries and say, hey, I don't want to wear this headscarf. I want to show my arms. I just cover my arms and shut the hell up.
Preach.
And they insist that you do it their way. And it does in your country, which is completely in opposition to how it's ever been done.
Why do we let that shit happen? Like Wani said,
I don't know.
we both travel the world, and if you do pull some crazy shit like that, go to Dubai and tell them you want to wear a tank top because you got the right to. Hell, lock your ass up and throw away the key. But go ahead, Wani. I kind of interrupted you.
No, but over in Egypt, this I was all covered up, not burqa covered up, but covered up with American clothes and scarf. And the a white lady that I was with, she says, "Bump that! I'm putting on my mini dress. It's hot." And so, they and he said, "Oh, it's okay because she's a tourist." And I was like, "Well, what am I? I'm not one of your broads. Why do I have to wear all this stuff?" So they kind of bend the line for certain people, maybe some American tourists. Maybe I was being too accommodating. Maybe I should be obnoxious and just lean into my Americanness and like the ugly American. Maybe I should do that, but I've been trying to go along with the program because I don't want to sit in a jail, stoned upside the head for not wearing the right headgear. And I don't think it's worth it to challenge other people when I'm just there for a short time.
Yeah, it's called respect and common sense, which it's not happening here. What are your thoughts, Kanye?
Straight up disrespectful on their part.
Oh, go ahead, Nikki. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying it's straight. He can go. It's straight up disrespectful on their part.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we're going to dive into Dr. Claude Anderson's concept of control. To have a real control and power, you need control over your environments. I'm going to question, why are we letting this go on in the United States? Why do we let people come over here to our beautiful country that our granddaddies died for and tell us what they're not going to do? That's fucking crazy. Kanye, what's your perspective on this?
What's going on, man? How y'all
What's up,
doing?
brother?
Shout out to you, Professor. Rest of y'all doing? Oh man, I actually missed you today, man. I mean, yesterday we filmed around the same time.
Oh, you in ATL?
I'm
Uh-oh.
still here now. I'm about
Okay.
to go to the bar.
Yeah, Tariq
Uh,
interviewed him yesterday.
Dang, if I knew, man, I would have stuck around. I took the whole day off. I didn't know you were here. I kind of figured the way it was set up, you were the I was the only one filming there because I mean it was other productions going on, but I didn't know the little waiting room was empty. I was the only one waiting there, so I was like, oh, it must just be me today.
no, I came after you. I think I came. I
A-
came after you.
Damn, if I
That's
would have known that, I would have waited up for you, man.
yeah,
No
I
clue.
just but anyway,
Yeah.
that's on the back end. But to speak to the topic, right? Not every country is accommodating as we are. For example, whether believe it or not, if you go to Dubai during Ramadan, you fasting too.
Hell yeah.
So I think it's like
Hey,
an
whether you like it
Islam
or
that
not, huh?
America is trying to fix. Whether you like it or not, welcome. But I think it's a mistake. You take a look at what London is doing right now, or what's going on right now. They have a huge problem with assault on minors, sexual assault on minors, and trying to change the word doesn't sound like what it is. And those men over there so much that they can't even protect their own,
I
their
can't hear
children.
you that
Like, come
well,
on, this is kids
Kanye.
we're talking about.
Kanye, you kind of sound underwater a little bit, bro. You got a hairpiece on? I mean, like a earphone or
Yeah.
something?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Hello? All right, cool. So,
Yes, sir.
yeah, no,
Perfect.
so gotcha. So, what's going on with the British right now is they can, with these foreign men coming over there and assaulting their children, sexually assaulting their children. And they're changing the name of it to make it seem less horrific than what it actually is. But those British men have been emasculated so
They
much, they
always
kind
do
of
that.
sit back and watch. Yeah, they kind of sit back and watching, and it's like, hey, at what point are you going to defend your children? And what's going on now is, as quiet as it's kept, a lot of the offices that are available over there are being overtaken by foreigners. So it's the same situation we have in here. So they have to make a decision because in Britain right now, if there is a flag that is, if the British flag offends you, you can actually petition the British government to take it down because of the past harms is caused certain countries. Which I think is interesting because if you made a decision to immigrate to a country that's harmed you, you have to deal with that. Like you said,
Right.
when I traveled overseas, I always followed the rules because I get locked up. I think the last time I had a World Cup, one of those air, I can't think which one it was. Uh, I think it was a producer at ABC. He wore one of those rainbow shirts,
Breaking
and he
up.
hasn't been heard from since. And I think it was strange that everybody was acting all shocked. They forget our rules are not their rules. You can't impose.
Kanye, you went out, brother. But Kanye, while we wait on Kanye to come back, he brought up a really good point. But let me make sure y'all can hear me first, and I'm not breaking up. Y'all hear me?
No, I can hear
Okay.
you. It's just Kanye. He was breaking up. Are you driving, Kanye?
Brother Kanye, you driving? Yeah, he broke it. Come back up, Kanye. We'll let you pick up where you left off.
I
But
really don't see him in the space no more. Actually, so I don't
What?
know how to bring him back up. I don't see him in the
no,
space no more.
he just
Yeah,
disappeared.
so he'll just have to come back. So,
Yeah, when Kanye come back, we'll
right.
just bring him back. But he brought up a really good point. The point that he brought up was uh in other countries you just don't pull that type of shit. And I remember talking to some guys, some army guys. I think they were, I don't know their unit actually. I'm just assuming they were top tier, maybe some rangers or like special forces guys who were deployed in Afghanistan. I didn't ask too many questions. That's the type of vibe they were giving. I just like didn't ask them too many questions. But they were talking about how they were deployed in a village in Afghanistan, and they were protecting this informant, this dude who was an informant. And what I'm saying, they said that he had those boys, I think, they're Basha Baziwani or um
Yeah, Bachabazi.
yeah, they were abusing some little boys. And one of the dudes, like, he wanted to fucking kill the guy. Like he wanted to fucking kill him but he was advised by high command to leave them alone because that's their cultural practices. So like we can't even intervene when a child abuse is going overseas. You just got to deal with what the, you know what I'm saying? Like, so given the fact most, if not every goddamn place, I don't know of another place that acts like us, like lets people come over here and just do their own thing. Most every place has standards, and you have to do what they say. What my mother used to say: "When in Rome, act like a goddamn Roman." Right? Why are we letting down our morals for these people who have nothing in common with us?
They're kind of creating a two-tiered, I see a two-tiered and a three-tiered, even a four-tiered justice system.
Right.
So basically what happened out here in California, so many white men were on drugs, on meth, laying up in the street. They didn't want to put all the white men in the world in jail. So what they did was they said, Prop 47, it's okay to steal up to $900. So that means that they can go into the store and steal and fund their meth addiction and get things out of the store without the, social services or whatever. So that's how they handled it. They just made the crime, um, they made it not a crime and told the shopkeepers, don't call the police. So they go into the store, they do all kind of things. They get violent, they use the bathroom in on the floor in the store, they steal with a pillowcase. They do anything that they want, and the police won't take them to jail. I actually know people that are not jailable. The police won't touch them, so they can fight, they can do anything they want to do. They're 007 status, they could kill. And they'll say, well, no, um it's not to the, they won't let you file a police report. That's what they do. That's step one. So the person commits a crime. We had a person to murder somebody, take a person's life. A 90 some year old woman got killed, and they said it was vandalism. That's how bad it is out here. They're going to create laws to accommodate the violent meth addicts in the neighborhood. So when Kanye was saying that, they try to change the words, that's what they're doing over there. They call it grooming. No, you have, in fact, Pakistanis and other Southeast Asians and Southwest Asian peoples are having sex with little white girls that are 11 years old. It's not grooming, they're molesting and having sex with them. Okay? In other words. So they renamed it grooming. Now I looked up their statistics and they said there are 800,000 pedophiles in the UK. That's a hell of a number. 800,000. And some of the worst crimes ever have happened in the UK toward little girls. I mean, they just snatch them up in a van and kill them, throw them out in the woods, and dare you to find them. And then when they do get caught, they sit in court with a smirk on their face, like, huh, you can't do anything about it. What can you do? All you can do is put me in jail. I'll be in protective custody and get 3 meals a day. That's their whole attitude. They need to swing on a rope. They need to bring that back because this other part is not working out. It's not protecting anyone. So that was happening before the immigrants. Now you've got a bunch of immigrants over there that their culture is to hurt children, boys and girls, boys and girls. Everybody is on, and animals. They don't
Wow.
care. They'll steal your animal and
And rape
sacrifice it.
them.
They'll rape your animal, they'll sacrifice your animal for religious purposes. They have found discarded African children in the street because some African did some sort of sacrifice and took a body part and just threw them in the somewhere in the UK. They have seen it all, and yet they don't respond. The people are scared to say anything because they'll be considered racist. So they're bending over backwards, getting rid of Easter, getting rid of their whole culture that they've had for years. And don't seem to be any men over there that are going to stop it. They're scared they're going to do another Holocaust. Well, I tell you, the people they did do a Holocaust on never did anything like this. They did things, very serious things to society, but they did not act out like this. This is some in your face type stuff. This isn't just being a Marxist and pushing weird bohemian uh, ideologies. This is in your face one-on-one attacks on your children, and they better do something about it, or else there won't be any more people in the UK. It'll be all foreigners.
Yeah, that's what Wani, that's what that Brexit stuff was about. We just didn't understand it. They're trying to get rid of people over there bringing their goddamn customs of child sacrifice and shit. Like when I was in West Africa, in Ghana, I met a bunch of teenagers who were scared to death of Nigerians and Benin people. They call them the Benin people. They said them motherfuckers kill twins. If you have some twins, it's a spiritual practice to believe that they're sharing a soul, so it's humane to kill one of them so he can have a whole soul. These people are insane.
That sound like some mentally slow, insane. It's all to me. It's always been them Africans. Like if they see somebody who has what do you call that disease where your skin is real white? Albinism.
Vitiligo. Oh,
Yeah, well,
albinism. Yeah, that
albinism.
too.
Yeah,
Yep,
they were
albinism.
killing those people and cutting their arms off and using them for things. Why does it always have to be, oh, something's different? That means they should die or we should kill them and use them for medicine. They're the only. They're not the only people who do it, but they're the only people who do it in such a large number. The people in Africa.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit. Something's different. They'll kill it. Well, they don't be killing white folk. White folks different. Explain that to me.
That's the weird
They worship
part.
white people. They worship the white people.
Yeah, they think they're God.
Mm-mm. Is it the picture of Jesus the Christ? Is that it?
No, they just have that. Some of the people in South America have the same reaction. Some of the people in the South Pacific Islands had the same reaction. They became the cargo cult. If you look up cargo cult, you'll see that they saw um, white people and decided that they were God, even though the white people said, "We're not God. We just, have technology," but they didn't want to hear it. They roasted a pig and had a big celebration for them and copied off of them. And when they left, they still kept practicing. They made a whole religion around them. They
Wow.
they came on a plane, and so they made a straw plane in the shape of the plane that landed there, and they still do it. Their whole mindset is to do that all through the islands. That's what happened over here. They wanted to worship the white man because he resembled the description of one of their gods. So that was, a stroke of luck for the European. And so all of these people are just, you know, not sophisticated enough to know that they're being slaughtered.
Wow. The European is so lucky. Um, Dr. Claude Anderson says tribalism provided the wedge that Arab traders eventually used to divide and conquer nearly every tribe in West and Central Africa. Stop right there. So our question rather, did West Africans bear their slaves? And second part, are FBA morals equal to Nigerian or African morals? I'm gonna say hell no. I'm gonna with textual evidence blame the rise of white and Islam Arab supremacy in the world to the enabling of West Africans. If you listen to what Claude Anderson just said, he said tribalism provided the wedge that Arab traders eventually used to divide and conquer every tribe. So basically, what Claude Anderson is saying is Africans not liking each other, which they still don't. Well, that's their business. But what I'm telling you, Black Americans, is they come over here with that attitude of tribalism and come up in our face calling brother, hey brother, hey brother. No, man. We're that brother shit back on the homeland. And Dr. Claude Anderson says if it wasn't for them being against each other on the homeland, the Arab and the European would have never rose to power. Never forget that. Anderson further says, who sought to increase access to African wealth. Oh, I'm sorry. In West and Central Africa, Dr. Claude Anderson says, quote, African tribal chiefs, here they go again, ignored the greediness of foreign traders. The Wani, that goes back to that God complex. So these dumbass fucking African tribal chiefs who sold some of us ignored the greediness. So they saw these Europeans being greedy and ruthless, and they ignored it. Back to Wani's point, maybe they thought they were gods with a dumb, stupid ass who sought to increase their access to African wealth, divided and preoccupied the older tribal differences. Many West African societies saw little wrong in enslaving and selling blacks from other tribes into slavery. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Those African dumbass chiefs fucked our image up in the whole planet. because a European with his vicious ass said, "Oh wow, Molly, they don't have any problems selling each other. They must not like each other. Let's just conquer them all." All the fault of an African tribal chief. Get the fuck out my face with that brother shit.
And then the other part of the morals where they come over here and say we get married and we have strong family units, and it's like, wait a minute, you don't get divorces because you married an 8-year-old, you married a 12-year-old. You force someone to get married because they're in your tribe. And not only that, with the high paternity fraud, I mean, what's going on with that? And the high uh the cheating that these women are credited with, and they come off saying that they have all these morals. I don't understand, what do they think morals are? Pretending. You see, that's why they fit in with the white people's way of Christianity, uh the fakeness of the way that the white man practices Christianity, the hypocrisy, and they just do it right in your face. The hypocrisy is wild, because it's like, wait a minute, that's why they take so well to the white man's Christianity, because of the way that they're hypocrites. They sit there, we have strong family units. What does that mean? It just means that you're married and you can sweep all of the infidelity and all of the paternity fraud and all the things you're doing under the rug, and you can slap your wife upside the head if she does better than you, and actually murder them. They murder their wives when their wives are successful. And not only that, they murder them in West Africa, and they bring the practice here. Uh, there's an epidemic of them murdering their wives, mostly nurses. And when they marry a Black American woman, they'll murder them too, but to a lesser extent. Yeah.
Craziness. Ah! All right, Black, what's on your mind? Black, can you
Yeah,
give,
can
go
y'all?
ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Professor Allen, Nikki the God of Only Spots. How y'all doing? Everybody in the chat. Well, did Africans bury their slaves alive? Yo, hell yeah, they did though, because that's still practice going on right now. Speakers, I actually traveled to certain countries, West Africa. I went to Nigeria, I went to Ghana and Senegal. Well, I went over there and stuff like that. Over there, like somebody said, is that in Nigeria they actually killed the twins over there. They consider that as evil though in their society. Don't they have twins? And also somebody else he brought up about albinos, how they get killed. That's actually in Tanzania. When I went over there to Tanzania, is that I went to this hotel. You got albinos over there. They have to get protected from the Tanzanian government though, because certain areas of Tanzania they'll kill albinos over there because they consider them as evil and like witchcraft over there in Tanzania. So yeah, if you are albino out there in Tanzania, you can't be out there in Tanzania. It's unsafe for albinos in Tanzania. Same thing in Nigeria. If you be a twin, it's not safe for you to be a twin over there in Nigeria either, though. So over here in Black American society, we don't care if somebody is albino or a twin, though. We look at that as something different, though. Like over these African countries, though, I've seen that stuff how they only bury they dead, how they be having dead body corpses just over there like twerking and stuff like that in front of dead body corpses dancing right in front of them, which is highly disrespectful. We over there in Foundation Black American Society, we look down on that. And the fraternity fraud over there in Nigeria has the second highest fraternity fraud rate in the world. Though, when I went over to Nigeria, fraternity fraud is rapid over there. You got I hate to use the B word like bastards. I hate to use that word though, but they was out there begging for money, begging for change all over Nigeria. So I actually helped them out though. We actually had a food program feeding the homeless Africans over there all throughout West and East Africa and South Africa. I went over there.
Ladies and gentlemen, I put some in the jumbotron. One of my least favorite things. Appreciate it, Black. One of my least favorite things is a spell check. Lately, it's a new spell check. I don't know. I've noticed the new spell check algorithm. It corrects you like on shit that don't make sense. I put Nigerian sold African slaves ellipsis, and it just changed it to Nigerian soldiers. I don't know why it would do that, because sold African slaves was perfectly logical. That's your AI for you. the brilliance of AI.
Well, yesterday I was putting George Foreman died, and George Forehead kept popping up over and over again.
Right. Like computer, let me be the human, you know. I know what I'm doing. But yeah, like Black was saying, it's true. If you look in the Jumbotron, I just put a little evidence for you guys that of a Nigerian talking about his great grandfather sold slaves. He sold African folk. The Nigerian slave trade was on and motherfucking popping. Matter of fact, the most vicious part of the transatlantic slave trade came from a subculture of Nigeria called Benin. We know of the Dahomey. That's the pinnacle of slave, of black people ruthlessly selling other Africans. You know what I'm saying? So, my question for this space is: given the fact we have overwhelming evidence that they used to sell us, how in the fuck did they get off coming over here and telling us what to do, what's right and wrong?
Nobody knows. I think they're empowered by pan-Africanists reaching out, trying to link up with them and trying to connect our culture to them. And they've lost their minds. They have they're spoiled, and they have a inflated sense of self-worth with respect to interacting with us.
Yeah, yeah. They don't give a flying fuck. Let me say that again. They don't give a flying fuck about foundational black Americans, 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 Americans.
Now, I remember last night in Tariq's space, the white lady up there was saying, "You sold your own people, they sold your." Now, this is what is extremely confusing. The part of our ancestry that is of African descent, you could say that some of those people were their own people if you talk about some of the kings selling their own ancestors, which is not the bulk of the people. The bulk of the people is not the king's family members. The king doesn't have that many family members to justify who came over here. So we know that it's not just the king's family, but the point is it's not their people. That's a white person's perspective that everybody in Africa is the same group. That's like me saying that Ukrainians are killing Russians and they're their own people. They're closer to being their own people. They're knockoffs, but we certainly are not knockoffs. If you look at the ethnicities in Africa, they are drastically different from each other. So, in other words, a Khoisan person is not the same as a person that of the same as a Twa person. And a Twa person is not a Oromo person, not an Ethiopian. And a Nigerian is neither of them. And their differences are drastic. Okay? Drastic differences between those people that I just named, where the Russians and Ukrainians are far more similar. Okay? So that is, you could say that's their people, but if a Nigerian is running around snatching up pygmies, that's not his own people. Okay? And the same thing with when English people were impregnating Irish maids and saying, "We don't care, put them in the workhouse, put them in a baby mother home, and we don't care what happens to them." That's how they treated them because guess what? That's not their people. They're ethnically different. And they didn't even consider Irish people them. They had to create this thing called white so they could all claim to be the same people, but they're not the same people. They're different tribes. And the Englishmen did not view these broads as anything. They just used them as maids, raped them, forced them into sex, got them pregnant. They were in there giving themselves abortions to keep their jobs. And when their abortion failed, even if the guy suspected they were pregnant, get this, suspected, say they woke up and they just threw up and he knew that he had sex with them, he would kick them into the workhouse, which is basically hell on earth. Or they'd go to a mother baby home where they found the skeletons of babies thrown down a well, down some other things on the property. They found tons and tons of starved children. So this is what they did in these mother baby homes. It's such scandals associated with the fact that they don't believe that they're each other, and they're not. But we just have to recognize it. We can't class ourselves as people that don't think that we're the same group. Now, I could, have a fairy tale in my mind that, hey, every person that's brown is my friend. But they don't believe that. So, what good is it for me to walk around at a disadvantage believing something that's just not true for the collective?
Yeah, very true, Wani. Dr. Anderson, and I put it in a jumbotron. Y'all all download it and save it for your records. From Black Labor, White Wealth page. What page is that? Page 111. Very interesting number for you numerologists out there. Anderson says, divided and preoccupied with old tribal differences, many West African societies saw little wrong in enslaving and selling blacks from other tribes into slavery. Never forget that. Young college people, when you got a West African person trying to join your sorority or your fraternity, remember what I told you. Am I telling you to be a bigot? No. But what I am saying, and I'll say it in church, I'll say it in Spain, goddammit, is if you got an organization that was created to uplift or make it and better foundational Black American women or men, you give them priority, damn it. Stop fucking over Black Americans to help somebody you don't understand. Housing, what's on your mind, man?
Good evening, everyone.
Hey,
Hey.
Wani, Nikki the God, Professor, everybody in the room. I can't touch on, from the African perspective when it comes to like West Africa burying their slaves, because your guys put me up on that. I had no idea about that. And I fed that information into, Meta and a couple of them. They said, no, that didn't happen. But I know it was a lie. Now, when it comes to us, I mentioned this a couple of times in this space that Black America is the most moral people on this planet. I stand 10 toes down on that. And another thing, when it comes to the Africans from all uh, tribes, however you want to call it, countries and stuff, when they come over here, they have a mindset from Africa, but when they come over here, they try to hide it. They try to keep it on a down low, but it comes out real subtle over time. And when they interact with us, you'll see how they act. They got their nose up in their behind, because they get two nickels, they rub them together, and they basically get these pocket programs that's established for them when they do come over here, and it puts them right into housing. It puts them right in a financial comfortable position, as opposed when they was over there. They was struggling to get rice. So I, and another thing, right? I deal with a few of them, especially in the summertime. They do not like, they smell. Couple of brother, I let the brothers know. I'm saying, yo, why you smell like fut? He said, what is that? I said, ass and feet. That's what you smell like. Excuse my language. Yeah, But they just don't like bathing. And I'm not trying to disrespect the brothers and sisters. And another thing, Wani, you touched on when they come over here. I mean, not that when you was talking about other groups throughout the world. I've been around white people. I've been around Hispanics people. I've been around all of them, and they treat each other like crap. They treat them like crap. A few years ago in Westchester, uh, the wife left the husband. He was a cop. White Plains, New York. He was a cop. He found out the wife went on a vacation with her boyfriend, And you know what he did? He killed his two daughters in himself.
Oh my God.
You know, so they can. They only care. They have this selfish mindset. Like if I'm not comfortable, no one's comfortable. I'll land my plane there.
Yeah, I was studying at a an Ivy League institution a long time ago, not the early 2000s, and it was an African. They paired two Africans together. They were from different places, different cities in the same country in West Africa, and they became inseparable best friends. Two girls, and one of the girls got a boyfriend and stopped hanging out with them when she got a boyfriend. She busy and she's sleeping over the boyfriend's dorm and all. And the other one killed her and killed herself. Like it's just it's a cult. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying leave my fucking culture alone. I'm foundational Black American. We have a beautiful culture. We have our own identity. Stay away from it. Let us have our goddamn identity and stop infringing on my fucking identity. If you didn't infringe on my identity, you wouldn't hear me talking about yours because actually I wouldn't give a fuck.
And Professor, one more thing before I can I say one more thing?
Oh yes, sir. Absolutely.
Uh, you was mentioning about the colleges and stuff when they want to what is that? They pledge. That's what it's
Oh
called,
yeah.
pledging.
Uh-huh.
All right. A lot of the brothers and sisters that's right here, foundational Black Americans, a lot of them have this Pan African mindset. So, they want to save the world. They want to take care of everybody and everything. So they embrace these people that come from abroad and they accept them in their inner circles. But they just basically what's the word I want to use? They're a virus, a subtle virus. And
Yeah, parasitic. They
yes,
are.
they a subtle virus, and they come in and they just basically like have everybody flipping the script. They have Black Americans flipping the script on each other. Oh, he's from West Africa. He's from here. He's from here. What is that, exotic? So what? He's from there. Don't forget who you be, Black Americans, the young ones right now in these colleges and their parents and stuff. They basically like forgot about Black America. They forgot. They forgot about the struggle that our parents and our ancestors went through in the deep South and the killing fields of the South. They forgot. They probably just, oh, I made it. I made it. I'm living in a big house and everything. But they tend to forget that. Actually, they practice forgetting that. I land my plane.
Yeah, and just so my view doesn't, my statement doesn't get skewed. My point is, we have an obligation to our children first. That's called common goddamn sense. And what we do, let me tell you this. I graduated from a historically Black college after I couldn't afford to stay at the Ivy League. And since that time, I've traveled around. When I was at historical Black college, I traveled around the country to other historically Black colleges. Meeting friends, having girlfriends, and just partying, having a great time. And I noticed a commonality between Black colleges. 90% of the time, they're right across the street from the projects. I don't know why, but I actually like that. I like the idea that an institution of higher learning is right next to the lowest SES. That means socioeconomic status, the lowest SES neighborhoods in that area. Miles College, right next to the projects. Alabama State, right next to the project. You name it, it's right next to the project. The only exceptions in the historical Black college world is Hampton. Hampton is like in a very rich neighborhood, always has been. Howard used to be across the street from the projects, but they tore the projects down and got condos there now. There are very few exceptions, is what I'm saying. Even Morehouse and Spelman, right down the street from the projects. Well, my point is, housing and my family is how in the fuck do you go to school right across the street from the projects and ignore the little kids walking around broke and hungry, needing guidance, and look at somebody from West Africa and say, "Let me help you." Somebody, please explain how that works.
It's the dodo bird syndrome. Um, they basically have laid their eggs in our nest and have tricked us into sitting on those eggs based on our charitable nature and our history of humanitarianism. And that's what we've been doing. We've been sitting on these nests like, oh, we have to help these poor people. And that's what we did. And we can't stop doing it. I am guilty as charged on that. I have done that myself. Like I said before, I was worse than a Pan African. I was helping everybody. I thought everyone needed help. And I thought Americans, we're fine. We don't have any poor people here. And I knew that wasn't true. How do we have more? We have more homeless people than some undeveloped countries. And we have homeless children. I've seen this, I see this with my own eyes. And I saw it way more in Santa Monica. I see little 10-year-old girls walking around homeless. You know how I know they're homeless? Because their skin looks like luggage, like tanned luggage, because they've been walking around the street. Plus, I see them, I used to see them all the time. So I know that they should be in school and they're not. They're walking around the street with a homeless man who's probably their father, and they walk around as a homeless family. That's not right. My grandmother fought against children not going to school and children being like in that bad situation. But if the, authorities found out, then she wouldn't have her father. She wouldn't have her family. They'd be broken up. So they made a decision that it's better to be together and broke and living in the street or living in a car and walking around in the street all day than to, go to foster care. So that's the choice that they've had to make. We have poor people here. That's the point I'm trying to make. Very poor. And not only do we have poor people here, they're never going to get help. There's not going to be any tents set up. You see? They can do anything to our children, and no outside agency is going to step in and say, "Hey, wait a minute. Why is this little white girl walking around the street with burnished skin? Why is she starving? Why is her daddy walking in the store with a pillowcase stealing so they can eat?" They're not going to say that because that would be embarrassing to America. So if we have little white girls walking around and we have young white people laying in the street right now
Hmm.
in San Diego, what do you think the condition of Black Americans are?
Awful, similar, but worse. Right,
See?
right across the street from fucking Spelman.
Exactly. So our condition is worse, and we are also hidden behind the veil of America. And no one's going to see our children. Even me, who live in America and literally saw this. I somehow, my brain didn't accept it. It said, "Oh well, that's just her. That's a rare case." No, it's not. There were hundreds of white children. These people were under 18 hanging out at the mall. So I'd walk through the mall and they'd be in the stairway. You can take a elevator or there's some stairs. They were living in the stairwell. Okay? Hundreds of them at the mall. That's a lot of people. And there's all levels of homeless people out here in California. There's young people, children, 90% white, living at the mall outside. Okay, then you have your basic homeless people who are older. Some of them are black. I don't know their backgrounds. It's a hot mess. And it's right here in America. And not one tent from no UN tents are going to be set up for these people. And what's more amazing is I said when COVID struck, I said, aha, they're not going to be able to have these people living like this. They're going to have to put up something for these people, and maybe that'll be a way for them to get housed. But oh no, they put them in a parking lot and said, stay up, like lay in this parking space and don't touch each other. That went on for about a week. And then they said, who cares? You guys can mix in together. You don't have to wear masks. Just go back to your normal homeless lifestyle. They don't even care if people spread diseases. They do not care. They don't care if they get vaccinations. They don't care if they're living outside. They don't care if they mingle together. The bottom line is that whatever goes on in America, no one is coming to help us. So we must help ourselves as Americans as a whole.
Wani, that was well said.
Yes.
Manhattan, you have a bunch of white people too down there. You got blacks, but one thing I don't see rarely, I don't see a lot of Hispanics homeless.
Yeah, they all live together, piled up in a house, so
Yes,
Oh,
they just don't.
great point.
Yeah,
Great
great point.
point.
yes. I'm telling you, I don't. They getting well taken care of because a lot of their peoples run these programs down there. You'll see a Alvarez, you'll see a Hernandez, you'll see a bunch of Hispanic names, the
Yes.
directors and everything. And this
Yeah,
is
they
in
be the
Manhattan, the
direct.
Bronx. Yes,
Yeah.
the only
And they
ones
be
you
the
see.
directors at the hospitals and the nursing home. They let their people in. Now, when they don't have
Yes,
beds available at the nursing homes in the hospital, they let their people in first.
I'm telling you. Listen, the Bronx. Only ones you see homeless in when in the Hispanic area is the ones that's playing with the heroin on drugs.
Facts.
But them other ones, no, you're not going to see a family, a Hispanic family, homeless in the street in the Bronx or Manhattan. They're not going to allow it. They're going to make sure they okay.
Wow.
Oh, great point. Okay, so let's go back to Detroit. I ain't gonna talk about this a long time because I don't see Sister Empress in here, but let's go back to Detroit and the woman whose kids died. I know a lot of people are upset with this woman, but I was one of the few who saw it as a systemic problem instead. Now, there are a lot of homeless people in Detroit, but there are a lot of illegal Latinos in Detroit as well. At that same time, when that foundational Black American woman was asking for housing, they were housing illegal Latino immigrants, and nobody's speaking on that. So I look at that situation first. For some reason, Latinos are being prioritized over descendants of American slaves in this country. And whether or not she was a good or bad mother, I look at the systemic issue first in that Detroit situation with that woman's kids dying. And so I'm not going to publicly sit up here and say, hey, she was a bad mother. No, I'm going to talk about the fact that Latinos were prioritized over her and she couldn't get help because Latinos apparently needed help first before her.
Correct.
Right.
That's absolutely correct. And then after her children died, they said, "Oh, here's a new house for you." Really? It's a bit too late. But you had all these houses for Hispanic people in a area built up by Black Americans. Motown. Nobody ever cared about that area until Motown. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
So I
Right.
don't care if she was seen dancing the next day or the day after that because I understand mental health. And I remember when my sister's fiance was shot and killed just suddenly. I remember her going out and things like that. And then a few days later, they had to put her in the hospital. So different people react to death different ways, and I specialize in those areas, so I understand that. And even if I didn't, we need to start coming together and looking at ourselves and our situation as a whole and how we are being treated. I got so much to talk about, y'all, but go ahead, Professor One.
Oh yeah, that was Nikki the God. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look in the Jumbotron, you'll see Nikki the God and Wani Spots Cash App. Show them love. In addition, if you want to copy my book, go to Our Story Publications. It's also in the Jumbotron, and put your full name and full address plus $25, and I will send a copy of your book out in several days. If you already bought a copy of my book, I sent them out today, so you should be receiving them shortly. We're gonna go to. I saw Fuck All's hands. Fuck all. Go ahead. Hadn't seen you in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Effa.
What's up, y'all? What's up?
We ain't seen you in a
What's
while.
up, bro? Where you been?
What's up? What's up, y'all? I appreciate you having me up. Shout out Professor Nikki Wani. It's always a pleasure.
No doubt. Good to see you.
Yeah, I just wanted to hit on something really quick. Because I think a lot of our people don't notice. Um, uh, and the whole move to Ghana thing. It kind of concerns me as well because it reminds me of the same thing. But I know a lot of our people, or may not know, is that a lot of our people from America had moved to Liberia in the early 1900s, And basically, when we moved down to Liberia, we basically built the country up, because wherever we go, we add and we make the things better. So our people basically, we built the country up, and Black Americans and Black American descendants ended up being like the upper echelon, the upper tier class in Liberia. But from the very jump, when our people had arrived in Liberia, there was conflict between the Africans and the Black Americans. They didn't welcome Black Americans into Liberia with open arms. It was like I said, it was conflict from the jump. They always had a problem with Black Americans being there. They called them invaders, and they called them colonizers. Well, Black Americans pretty much built the infrastructure up of the country, all the way up until like the 1970s and 80s, 90s. And you know what the Africans did? Once the Black Americans built the country up from scratch, the Africans decided to stage a violent coup d'état against the American leaders, and they actually systemically targeted Black American people and their descendants, and they killed them ritualistically, and they massacred a lot of Black American people. So like I said, these people have never looked at us as their own. And they've never welcomed us with open arms, even when our people decided to so-called return back to Africa. Um, and yeah, they allowed those people to pretty much build up the country, build up their infrastructure, and when they were done getting what they needed from those people, they massacred those people. They killed the president. They killed his son. And they killed a lot of Black Americans in the Civil War that happened down in Liberia. They systemically targeted those people. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if a lot of our people know that, but like I said, it reminds me of the whole back to Ghana move, because you got a lot of our people, talking about moving to Ghana, and I really think they might do the same thing. I think they might let them go there, let Black Americans contribute, build the economy up like we always do. We add our expertise, and I wouldn't be surprised if they acted violently against them. So I'll land.
Well, brother, it's a blessing that you got people like Wani in this. We have people like Wani as a research, and to a certain extent, even me, but not so much. Wani knows more, been more over, because given the fact that we've been over there, especially Wani, we know the game. Like this whole Liberia shit. Let me go ahead and drop a fucking nuclear weapon on that argument. I was in Ghana, was there a large portion of the summer 2023 doing research and helping the school, blah, 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 whatever. And we were driving through Accra to a dignitary's house. And I'm sightseeing with my camera. And I noticed all of a sudden, for about a mile, the way people were dressed was different, the culture was different, and there were a lot of like outside refugee like tents and shit. The way they dressed was different than Ghanaians. They were dressed kind of almost kind of like they were trying to be American a little bit. I was like, what is this? I was like, man, why did the I'm talking to the driver, he's Ghanaian. Why did the attire change? Why are things so different around here? So as it turns out, in 2020, but about 15 years ago, there was a civil war in Liberia that we never heard of, or just a huge civil war. And the fucking UN showed up to Liberia and just kicked out whole neighborhoods and replaced them in Ghana against their will. So what I'm trying to tell y'all is y'all think you gonna move over to Africa and have stability, goddamn it. Nah. Your ass gonna the moment you get over there, like Tariq Nasheed be talking about, you gonna get goddamn finessed and you might end up being swept up by I can move to Ghana right now and buy a fucking 100 acres of land and get a mansion built. They gonna sit there and let me build that motherfucker. And the moment it's built and I'm watering my lawn, some goddamn rebels gonna show up, kick me out that motherfucker, handcuff me, and I'm gonna wake up in goddamn Congo. That's how stable that fucking place is. You can go there if you want, man. Hey,
Correct. And if you saw the way that the natives of Liberia looked, and the Black Americans were dressed in Victorian clothing when they first went over there in the 1800s, you would not, I mean, and they were in loincloths talking about they wanted to be part of the government. How? You're in a diaper. You can't be part of the government. You don't even know what we're doing. They have been jealous the whole time. And that land was purchased. Okay? They bought that land to build that up. And they just could not leave them alone. Wouldn't leave them alone.
Yeah, wasn't it a black American killed in, I want to say Ghana? Wasn't she repatriated to Ghana, and they was,
Those two sisters,
yeah.
this is the same situation. They bought a big piece of land legally. And then this man said it was his tribal land. They went to court. Of course, the Ghanaian government said, uh, no, she bought that fair and square. And so they raped, this man raped and killed her and her sister. And these people are like late 70s, 80 years old, and buried him. But they put him on the end of a rope. I don't know how many people really did it, but one of them got lynched for that. He had to pay the price for that. But that's their mindset. You can't buy, the people are at odds with the government. So you might think that you're buying some land, but the local people are saying, no, that's mine. So, and they haven't worked it out. So they'll try to take it back. They'll kill you if you are doing something that they feel like you. And like I said, it's not safe. It's very unstable. When I hear Black Americans saying, "Well, I just want to get away," it's racist over there. Well, what do you think tribes are? What do you think? Why can't you see that racism can come from any group, or ethnic bigotry, which is just as violent? If you don't like the name racism, with respect to black on black attacks, ethnic bigotry has caused genocides. So, how much more violent do you want it to be? I mean, literally, other tribes have taken out entire tribes into the millions, and yet they feel some kind of safety talking about, well, at least it's not racist over here. At least I don't have to worry about. This is what people have said. Stevie Wonder said something like that. I don't have to worry about my children being discriminated against. What? How do you think you got here?
Right.
How do you think your lineage got here? There was some severe discrimination going on. Okay? Did you forget about that? Yes, you did. Okay? And I
Wow.
had a person that I met on Twitter in my inbox showing me pictures of everyone in his neighborhood that got kidnapped. He said he needed $20,000 to not be kidnapped and to move to a nearby town. Now, I know he could possibly be lying. So I looked that up. And yes, his neighborhood that he mentioned a long time ago literally has a series of people who had been snatched up, kidnapped, and the going price to get them back was about $20,000. And he said he needed $20,000 to move. I don't know why he needs so much to move. But anyway, that's his business. He needs to take his Nigerian butt on somewhere. He has family in another area, so why don't you go move in with your family if you really if you really feel you're going to be kidnapped? He said we could go to the grocery store and never come home. Yeah, that's not stable.
Yeah, Wani, that's very powerful. Wani said, you want to talk about discrimination. How in the fuck you think you got over here? They discriminate against your groups. And if you want to get real deep down that rabbit hole, read Dr. Chancellor Williams' Destruction of African Civilization, where Dr. Chancellor Williams argues that the groups that were targeted for slavery over there were groups who knew how to build things and knew technology. And that would make sense because Black Americans know a whole bunch about technology and how to build things. Dr. Chancellor Williams says 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago, those West Africans were jealous of the group of people who got kicked out of Egypt and migrated to West Africa and couldn't wait for somebody to take them. So you're looking at jealousy you don't fucking understand. I'm gonna go ahead and go. Let's see, Rob the Whip, and then Mama Do. Can you hear Rob?
What's up with it? How's everybody doing?
What's up, brother?
Man, God is great. Life is good. Uh, hey, Nikki, did you say George Forehead?
Yes, I was trying to make a post yesterday, and I did. And every time I typed in George Foreman forehead, Foreman forehead popped up every
Bruh, I
single
heard you say
time.
that and I was crying over here, man. That shit was funny as hell. I said, she said George Forehead. I'm like, man. Anyway, to speak to the topic of the room, I think we ought to keep in mind, man, that these older countries, they have a different regard for human life. Not just throughout Africa, the continent of Africa, but to the older countries over in England, uh, Great Britain, all the way to Russia, down to the third world countries in South America, over in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, all those places, man. They have a different regard. It's more those third world countries, primarily the third world countries. They'll kill you if they sort out a problem. Very not too often will you find yourself in court over a dispute. Families that handle it, I've been there and seen the end results. Families that handle it, especially in like um what are the Italians that are considered black Sicilian? You mess around in Sicily, you're not gonna go to court. The family take care of it. Little stuff like that. So it's not unheard of to have these atrocities that you guys are talking about happen at that level. I think in America, once we got into the past Jim Crow laws, things kind of settled down. But you fuck around in some of these towns here in America. Go up to West Virginia, certain these little what they call the hollers up there. They had that family type justice or that individual justice. Certain parts of Ohio, certain parts of California and Texas. So keeping that in mind, moving as a collective morally, do FBAs are we more moral? I think yeah, we take the high ground. Sometimes I think we take the high ground too often when we shouldn't.
Preach.
Um, and I think morally has been broken down because of the influence and the psyop of hip hop music. And how the idolization of stars have taken the precedence over parents, idolizing parents and people that have done stuff throughout history. And sports figures. So I think as we're having this awakening of people, um, we're tightening up and starting to come full circle. We're starting
Oh, wait,
to get
what
our
did hip hop do again?
shit together. But hip
Oh,
hop music
sorry, you broke
was
up.
different. Yeah, hip hop music was a side was done in like the if you go on YouTube, old boy from Ohio, what's that rap group? God darn it. Uh, I'm
Is it
drawing a
Bone
blank.
Thug? Is Bone
What?
Thugs from
Yeah, yeah,
Atlanta?
yeah. Bone Thugs and Harmony. He was talking about it.
Right.
Hip hop was going to black conscious music back in the late '80s, early '90s. The Jungle Brothers, Public Enemy, uh, um, going on all the different rap groups. So what happened? Powers that be was a government psyop. They said they had a meeting. He's talking about on YouTube. Look it up. Talking about YouTube, they had a
No, I just asked you, what did you say it did to society?
meeting out in California. You had to sign an NDA, and they said, well, what we did
Uh,
was, yeah, to the younger generation, they get
you're
You
breaking
breaking up,
up a
brother?
lot.
Maybe they don't want them to talk.
That's the second person that happened to. I was
Yeah,
wondering.
yeah, yeah.
I just want to hear exactly what he feels hip hop music did to, and to who it did it to.
Yeah, Rob the Whip. I just sent you a mic.
Oh, he fell down. Did he leave? I mean, did he?
his connection probably went bad, but that's right. That's the second person that was cooking and got and did, fell off mysteriously.
Wani, what he was saying is that the younger generation today is disregarding the parents and embracing celebrities and rappers.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
that, and are 100% sure that that's because of music and not, I mean, people have always liked musicians. They've idolized. What do you think they were doing with the Beatles? They were screaming and peeing on themselves. So how is that new?
No, this is what Rob said, not me.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
I
sure.
just want him to
At
come
to
back up.
Ronnie, to some extent, yes. To some, not all.
I'm just confused how these things could be confined to us if everyone is listening to it and white people are buying the music the most. So how is it specifically geared toward us? Just like when they put crack in the neighborhood, it was geared toward us, but guess who ended up smoking it the most?
White
White people.
people.
And so the music could be geared toward us, but who's listening to it the most? White people. So how is it making us do anything?
Great question.
He probably mentioning when a lot of the younger generation live out those fantasies. Not I wouldn't even like, I put two in the clip and put two in your head, stuff like that. They're literally doing that in New York.
Wow.
New York doesn't count because uh it
It,
sucks
it, it's
and everybody is there doing all kind of things, pushing each other on the train tracks. Can we use another state situation? Because people are definitely not listening to songs and then going out and shooting everybody. Some people
Yeah,
are
that's what
already
I just
in a
said. Some,
gang.
yes.
Some people
Just
are already in gangs and maybe hyped up by it. But
when they
that's
blow the
hyped up by gangster rap, not hip hop.
facts. Yeah. I studied educational psychology in graduate school for my master's degree, and Wani brings up a valid argument, but two things can be right at the same time. I think that these um music venues and somebody mentioned Bone Thugs and Harmony. That's from my childhood. I rock hard as fuck. I still listen to Bone. That stuff does influence you to a certain extent, but if you want to get academic and look at the books say that if you have a family member who it's called the theory of self-efficacy. So your family, and it doesn't have to be family, it could be a role model, but if you have at least one person who's doing something positive or, you know, making it work in a positive fashion, that could counter all the outside influences you have. So it don't have to be a parent. For me, I had an Aunt June who was a nurse practitioner who's picked me up in her badass Benz and, what I'm saying, take me around, buy me shit. And I knew from kicking it with June in that Benz that, man, I ain't got to go out here on the corner. I can make it. So that kind of proves the theory. But does it affect weaker mind people? I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. But Wani's argument also stands supreme as why doesn't it affect white people when white people are the consumers of this of negative um music?
Not only that, they are the consumers of, or were, hard rock is not very popular these days, but they were the consumers of hard rock. And, you know, if anybody acted out and did crimes and their sacrifice, and they were talking about, oh, I was listening to this song. They've actually had songs that were brought up in court as reasons why this one woman tried to kill all of her children. She was listening to a song, she was getting hyped up on it. A lot of people have sacrificed virgins based on a song. So these songs are coming up. So I don't know why hip hop is, being targeted as doing all these things when you have this other music who these people are literally acting this out, like Manson. and other people like that that really feed on these songs to sculpt these types of hellish lives that they dole out on the society. A lot of these serial killers, they're listening to certain songs. I mean, I don't like this music argument at all because what kind of music were the Congolese people listening to when they killed tens of millions of people?
Right.
Well, what kind of music were the Germans listening to when they pulled off the Holocaust? It was classical music.
Facts.
Classical music played at the concentration camps, played by a lot of Jewish people. So I just, yes, some of the music is violent, but music can be violent. What's the problem? It's an art form. It's a it's a subgenre that has more violence in it than the original raps that were put out.
But I'm back. Sorry, I got kicked out, man. Something happened, but you got to look at the big picture. And remember what I said earlier before, some time ago. We are black folks. We are the crash dummies for what's to come. They test it out on us, and then they push it out to the masses. Like their kids are having the same problems that our kids have. Because there's a push from inside America to destroy the country from the inside out. From people who what they say to the elite down to whatever. But that's another topic. But getting back, the music, our music is powerful. They did the same thing with rock and roll back in the day. We invented it. They took it and flipped it, and a lot of stuff came out of that because what we do is very influential. And like I said, in closing, um, the moral fabric of the country, not just us as a people, I think we're kind of looked at harshly because of who we are and because we are a role model for the world. Anything we do is kind of extra heightened. But what's happening to our children is happening to their children now. But I've kind of lost my train of thought when I got kicked out. I was on the road, but I'm gonna end with that. I'm gonna just sit back and listen. It's a good topic tonight. That's what it is.
Appreciate you, brother, and I appreciate your perspective. Because these are kind of like cutting edge, controversial perspectives. Kind of like the
I
next. Go
think,
ahead, I want to.
no, I was just going to say, I think the use of drugs during the 80s has a lot to do with some of the bad behavior that we see. It's kind of like a
Facts.
lost generation. That's really what a lack of respect, a lost generation. You have no idea how powerful a generation can be. Just like when my grandmother died, people stopped getting together. She was the glue holding the whole family together. No more family reunions, no more big dinners, no more of a whole lot of things that we just took for granted. So the loss of a generation is extremely damaging. Extremely damaging. I think that's one of the main things that we're seeing with people, and there's a lack of respect. But overall, this is not just us. The trend is going toward this type of disrespectful behavior. And to be honest, white people have always been disrespectful to their parents. I would see white people saying all kinds of things that I would never say to my parents. Completely different culture. Cussing, calling their mother by their first name, cussing them out, um, doing all kinds of things in front of them, drinking, smoking, complaining, just all kinds of stuff that the average of Black American just didn't do to their parents. They've always been doing that. So I don't know if I'm ready to blame hip hop for it, but the wave, the trend in America is going toward uh, these trashy behaviors. It has been going that way for a while. We remember when back in the day, if somebody got pregnant, somebody's grandmother got them married off real fast. They wanted to cover that up. They wanted to keep an air of respectability. And then at some point, nobody cared. It was like, oh, okay, somebody's pregnant. They don't have a husband. Well, just let them be a single mother. And then you started seeing white girls doing it. Oh, they made it cool. They even had a pregnant at 16 documentary. They thought it was funny. Even Madonna was running around talking about being a single mother and how cool that was. So they started pushing that. So the trend has been going toward that. And we're just, we're American, so we're part of the trend. That's just the way it is.
Right, right. Very, very true. Mama do, what's on your mind, bro?
Man, first of all, I'm really happy to talk with you again because there's a lot of topic that we have to highlight, to your public. First of all, you've talked about property right in Africa, and I wanted to highlight something really important. In Africa, we have laws, we have justice, and if you go to Africa and purchase land legally, I mean, you own that land. You will not lose that land randomly from a random guy who gonna come and kill you, and you know no, it
Well,
don't
what
work.
happened to those two women then? What happened to those two women in
No, I mean,
Liberia?
it's a criminal. We have criminals everywhere in the
No,
world,
it was
and
a
also in
land.
Africa.
It
In
was a
African
land
country, it's
dispute.
not a behavior
No, no,
to
no, no. Wait
go
a minute. Wait a minute.
and
This
kill
was.
somebody
Hold
if
on a
he
moment.
say,
Hold
"Oh,
on a
it's
moment.
my
Hold on a
land."
moment. Hold on a minute. It was definitely a land dispute. Okay, not just criminals. It's a land dispute, and it was discussed in a courtroom. So we know what it was. It wasn't just criminals. These men deeply believed that that was their land, and they wanted to kill those women and get rid of them. Now, how many other Africans think that's their tribal land and they want to kill anybody that buys it? How many?
No, you cannot say it's the majority who think that way. It's Listen, we have criminals in Africa just
Okay,
like everywhere
why,
in the
can I
world.
ask you a question?
So
Why is it that when other people come over to live in parts of Africa, they have to live in these compounds and protected areas and barbed wire and all this stuff? What are we doing here?
no, listen. Me, I came from a rich family. My father is an engineer. He worked really hard. I lived well. And I'm a Senegalese who lived almost all of my life in Benin. It's a West African country. I never had a robbery, sorry, since I was born.
Oh,
Never.
hold on, Mama do. Hold on. Back up, back up. Now, I hear what you're saying, brother, and I want to believe you, but when I was in West Africa, the Ghanaians said they were scared to death of Benin's because all the Benin people do is murder and sacrifice folks. This coming from West Africans, so you telling me that upwards of 20 random Ghanaian men and children are lying about the murder that goes on in Benin?
I mean, you have criminals everywhere in Africa, just like
I'm
in
not. I'm
Europe.
not talking about criminals, bro. I'm talking about like sacrificial, murdering for you know dark spirits and shit. It's a difference between criminality and fucking
Yeah,
magic.
but do you know that Benin is one of the safest country in Africa? Go check the crime rate. It's one of the safest country in
Something.
Africa.
Hold on.
So
Let me read
if
something.
listen, if a criminal.
Let me read something. In the kingdom of Benin, human and animal sacrifices were part of state religion and rituals, particularly to propitiate gods and ensure good fortune, with some rituals involving the sacrifice of criminals and those deemed to have brought misfortune. So, if you think that I'm bad luck, oh well, I get killed. What is this? Like, why are you lying?
Do you know that?
This is a
No, no,
part of a state
no.
religion. State religion. That's
But listen,
institutionalized
okay,
murder.
if it's a state religion.
Hold on, Mama. Do you like really? You talking to historians here? Like we ain't just like ain't no dumbasses. Like you sitting up here talking about Benin, and the whole time you talking, I'm thinking about all the books I read on how Benin women were proud of killing slaves in front of the Europeans, and if the Europeans didn't buy enough, they would lick the knife and shit. Like you're talking about a whole culture of murder. When I was walking through the jungles of Togo, our tour guides were 14, 15-year-old boys who were scared fucking shitless of, oh no, not Benin people. No, I don't like Benin people. I'm scared of Benin people. And you acting like that shit nice? Wani just said murder is part of the goddamn state legislator. So why are
All
you
right.
lying
So,
to us about this?
all right. But do you know that crime is illegal in Benin? Do you know that?
I
So
just said it was
What
I
what
mean,
did you
illegal.
mean when
you
you
thought
said
that
all right?
it's a culture, but
What did
crime
you
is
mean when you said,
illegal.
Mama Do? What did
Crime
you
is
mean when you said
illegal
all
in
right?
Benin. So what's your
Mama
point?
Do,
Bro,
Mama Do, what did you mean when you said all right? Were you agreeing that this crime happened? Go ahead. What did you mean when you said all right? It seemed like you were agreeing. What is wrong with this space?
I don't
I
know.
think he's on a double mute situation.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, while his mute
No,
gets,
listen, listen. I want
hold
to
on,
say,
hold on. I want to tell you what I heard, and it took me a minute to acknowledge it, but I heard it. What he's saying, he said crime is illegal in Benin. I got you. What he's saying, without saying it, is murder is not a crime in Benin.
Correct.
murder is a crime in Benin.
No,
What
it's
are you
not.
talking about?
Nope, I'm going
Murder
to
is a
sacrifice
crime. If
you.
you get caught, man, you're gonna
It's a state.
have hell. You're gonna have
This
hell in Benin.
look. The state says it's okay for me to sacrifice you, and I can get a Ferrari. What are you going to do about it?
So if it's okay, I mean, a criminal who murder a child should be free. But if he got caught, I mean, for the best,
What?
for the best way possible, he gonna go in jail.
Look, the
But
state says it's okay to do human and animal sacrifices. What are you going to say about that?
no, it's not okay. It's
Why
not
does it
okay.
say it then? So the internet is once again lying?
I mean,
That's not a state
if it is
religion?
okay,
That's
it
not a
should be
state religion?
legal. It should be legal to murder somebody in Benin.
If they
It's
said it was a
illegal. So
state
I don't
religion.
know why are you saying
State
that it's
it's a
something
state
in the
religion.
culture?
So if they want
No,
to
it's not.
sacrifice a criminal or
Not.
someone, see how they have it very nicely worded. They're going to sacrifice a criminal, which is fine, but they're also going to sacrifice someone that they perceive as causing bad fortune. So I may come into town and on the same day they have an earthquake, right? So it's perceived that I have brought that earthquake with me. Okay? So what does that mean?
They didn't murder you; they sacrificed you because you brought the
Right.
earthquake. This some bullshit, is what it is.
No, I mean, guys, you act as if it's in the culture, as if it's something
They just said
normal.
it was.
Uh, no,
They
it's
just
not.
said it.
Not
Well, what do
normal.
you
I
call the
mean,
state a state religion? What do you call that if that's not in the culture?
it's illegal. It's absolutely prohibited
It's
to murder
not.
somebody in Benin.
Well, they
Do you
said it was a
understand?
state religion. What
I'm telling it, I want to believe them.
In voodoo, the only sacrifices they're doing is animal sacrifice. They don't do human. If you do human sacrifice, you go straight to jail. Do you understand?
they're okay, so that's something that the international community has put upon them.
No,
That's
no,
not yeah, they
they
didn't
do
come
nothing about that.
they
It's
didn't
just
they
illegal.
didn't come
It's
up
just
with that on
illegal
their
to
own.
murder somebody in Benin, and it's the same everywhere in Africa. I mean, you talk about murder in Congo. A lot of Congolese criminals have been caught right now. They're sentencing lifetime jails in Congo right now. A lot of them have been caught recently. I've heard a news the week. The weeks 1 week before, and sorry for my English, by the
Oh,
way,
no,
but
you're good, but
they
now I
caught
know
a
I didn't
lot of
just hear you say that
people.
Congo is safe. I got homeboys over there. They say people just fucking murdering and cooking people on the street in Congo.
But the government is fighting back these criminals. In Congo, you have a lot of crime problems because the states don't fully control the whole land. I mean, Congo is as huge
Why don't
as
the people
entire
control
Europe.
themselves?
Congo
Okay,
is a
so
huge country. You know,
okay, you say because the state doesn't control the land. Why don't the people control themselves? This is about people. People are running away from Africa not because the land is fine. It's because the people are not fine. Everybody running over here is running away from themselves. They're running from their own people. How does that make sense? The people need to change.
no, sorry. You know, I've traveled in a lot of countries in Africa. You know, I'm from Senegal, but I've traveled in Ivory Coast, in Benin, in almost everywhere. Africa is generally a safe place. If it wasn't a safe place, white people will not travel in Africa. You see white
Oh, it's
people
safe
in
for white
Africa
people.
doing
Hold
safari
on, hold
everywhere.
on, hold on. It's safe for white people because these numbnuts view them as
No, no.
God.
White people are everywhere in Africa,
White
but
people are Jesus Christ to you.
Africa
So
is
that's
not that
why they're
safe.
safe.
Why white people are there? I see a bunch of
You're
white
not
people
gonna
in
do
Senegal, in
anything to
Kenya, in
hello.
Central.
Hello. You're not gonna do anything to them, remember? You're suckers. You're not gonna do it. Don't make me get black exploitation on your butt. You are a
Yeah.
bunch of sucker
But
ass
first of all, you say,
fools.
oh, Africa
And you're
is not
not
safe.
gonna
And then
do
you say,
anything.
oh,
A white
there's
person
white
can
people
walk
because
around
we are
there.
white suckers. I don't understand.
Look, white people can go over there and twerk in your face and you ain't gonna do nothing. You know that and I know that. If I
You
go
know,
over there
yeah,
and I
but
have a
Africa is
if I
unsafe
go over to the wrong
for your point
neighborhood
of view. Yeah, I
reading the
understand.
Bible, they'll put a tire
It's
around
really
me and set
something.
me on fire. If I'm over there reading the Quran in a Christian area or vice versa, reading the Bible in a Muslim area, I'll get a tire put around me and have my
Now,
ass set on
do you know
fire.
that Senegal is 90% Muslim and
I
10% Christian?
don't give a
But
hoot.
Christians live peacefully with Muslims, so I
No,
don't
they
understand your
don't.
point.
That is totally outrageously not true. But anyway, if I
I,
go over there and read the Bible
my
through
auntie have
town,
a Christian friend in
let me
Senegal,
go look
and
this up.
every time Christmas she
I,
give
I'm
her.
I'm not gonna hear this shit, guys. In the jumbotron, I just discovered a whole goddamn temple which still has tourists in Benin that's painted out of human blood. If you read it, the goddamn article says blood and bagats. Quote, blood and
Yes.
bagats usually don't go together in any context, let alone as building materials. Yet in this palace in West Africa that's cemented with these bizarre ingredients located at the city of Aboni, in Benin, the structure is said to have been built using the blood of 41 voodoo sacrifice victims. And a new study indicates that the legend is true. I mean, probably true is what it says. But if you look at the building, it's painted with blood. That
Yeah,
I have that article. Yes, that's outrageously weird.
yeah.
blood has
When you
iron
say
in it.
that,
Ugh.
it's
Blood has iron in it, and if you look at it, it's kind of rusted. They just fucking drown that building in blood. Blood paint. Now I've heard it all.
yeah. But
Just
if those criminals get caught, they're gonna go straight to jail.
okay,
So,
but I just want to read this article. This happened February the 25th. 70 Christians were beheaded in a church in the Congo. Now, that's not Senegal, but yeah. 70 beheaded? That's not that's not safe.
If somebody built a building in America that was painted with blood, so much fucking blood, imagine how much blood you had to use to extract so much iron out of the human blood that it's rust paint on the goddamn top of the building.
all right. But guys, sorry, you talk
No,
as
I'm
if.
not sorry. If that building exists in the United States of America, we would have burnt that bitch to the ground or Congress would have had it torn down.
Yeah.
It's it is still standing in Benin and
Oh,
tourists go visit it. That says a
You
whole
guys
lot
have
about
some you
I mean
guys have some very bad situations
oh, but
over there.
yeah, but you can say
Your
everything
morals
you
are
want, but it's
what
illegal.
kind of morals do you have? I mean, when I think about the times that I've heard Africans talk about their moral superiority,
Yeah.
I just don't understand what you're talking on what planet, like
Right.
in what realm are we discussing?
All right, but
Which
you talk
area of
as if.
development are you morally
All right.
superior? I just want to know this. What area? Since we have different areas, we can talk about man woman relationships. We can talk about business relationships.
Yeah.
what in what way are you more morally superior to,
All right.
let's just say,
But
white people? Let's just say,
but
how are
do you
you
know?
morally superior to white people? Let's
I've
use
seen a
these
lot of data.
objective
Do you
stuff.
know Senegal is safer than the United States? We don't have shooting everywhere in the street. We don't have that. We
If
don't have
if
guns.
What?
if Senegal was safer than the United States, why in the fuck y'all keep running over here?
You don't need to shoot. The
I mean,
bottom
a lot of
line
people are
is,
coming
hold on.
because
Don't talk about shooting because you guys don't understand how guns work.
How is
That's a
Senegal safer? How?
that's a newfangled weapon for you guys. Okay, so you a slingshot could knock me out too. Okay, just because you guys are using bows and arrows doesn't mean people are not dead as hell. So let's not go there. People
there's
running
less
around with
crime.
people running around. Did you say people running around with guns? So the only crime is crime that's gun oriented, but you're going to ignore people being beheaded by by terrorists and extremist groups. You're going to ignore that because they didn't have guns and they have machetes. People are still dead. You don't get to put your head back on because you weren't shot.
What
Their heads are permanently removed and not going back on. So
facts?
how is it more safer? How are they less dead? Explain.
All right, but the crime rate in Senegal is way lower than the United States.
Well, I'm not going. I don't. I'm starting.
Ah,
I'm starting to get bored of this bullshit because the crime rate's lower because can't nobody count over there. I've been there.
right.
I've been to those goddamn villages, man. A lot of those villages are in the middle of fucking nowhere, and ain't
Yeah,
nobody
but guess
counting.
what?
Ain't nobody counting all the women getting knocked upside the head. You are you for real? You dead serious,
Respect.
right? The
Man,
crime
you have
rate.
serious governments that have a lot of serious data. You know, they're doing a lot of
Oh,
data.
I'm done with. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't handle it no more. I can't
I'm
take
just
it.
trying to understand why he what based on what ground he thinks his country is safer than ours.
I mean, he's just this shit is like he trolling right now for real, man. Like anybody who's ever been anywhere in West Africa outside the major cities. By the way, in the major cities, is shit flowing through the streets. In the rich neighborhood in Accra, Ghana, called Osu, I was surprised. I was looking at the show. I said, "What the fuck?" It was like toilet tissue riding down the stream. I was like, "Why is there toilet tissue?" It's just shit rolling down the street. You know what I'm saying? But I've been all over those motherfucking neighborhoods in the out in the middle of nowhere and there ain't no police departments out there. I mean, you might, dude, no cap. You might be 15 miles in between, 20 miles in between, like a little makeshift hospital and a little makeshift school and a little makeshift police department.
But the police rob everybody,
Yep,
so that
there's
doesn't
that.
even help. That doesn't help.
There's that as well. I noticed that the fucking police were carrying FALs, man. Like that's a fucking 308 caliber, heavy caliber machine gun. I was like, why the fuck is the police carrying a FAL? Because the shit's lawless. That's why
Yeah.
the police ain't trying to check to see who killed their husband. They don't give a fuck. The crime rate. These people are insane.
I mean, in northern Nigeria, some I guess they were Fulani herdsmen came into a market and killed everybody. You know, the government rolled in there with a tank and was still scared and still rolled the tank out of there. That's how scared they were of those people. Yeah, yeah, they rolled in with a tank and rolled it the hell up out of there.
I should have dropped that motherfucker down the moment he said Benin has a low crime rate when they have museums painted with human blood. Can y'all believe that shit?
I
Bragging on
mean,
a museum
there's
painted with human blood, so much blood that it got rust on it.
horrible. They they like to play games with statistics and try to compare, uh, make improper comparisons and act like we're all running around shooting each other with guns. No, 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 no.
Hey,
They're literally stealing entire schools of girls and just being very reckless with people's lives.
yeah, Wani, what drives me fucking ass crazy about that is fucking that talking point is coming from white people. The Africans go around white people and get that talking point of, well, statistics say that Chicago and murder and crime in the black neighborhood, and he comes and parrots that shit to me. when I've been all over West Africa and seen how fucking lawless they shit is. It drives me crazy. It just drives me crazy that the white Europeans who said they were imbeciles. Let's go back to Claude Anderson. Let me hold on. Let me find it. He done motivated me today. The doctrine of equal exchange. Check this out. So that dude was parroting a talking point from a white pundit who thinks that, according to Claude Anderson, um, he says, quote, tribal chiefs willing to participate in such questionable trade practices because West African economies were substance based and therefore people were satisfied with the status quo and saw no need to accumulate wealth and power. Anderson says, true or not, white traders. These are the white people that told him, oh, well, you're better than the blacks. You're much better than them because they have crime in Chicago and they kill each other. White traders took advantage of the tribal chiefs' generosities. This self-destructive tribalism, self-enslavement, and lack of concern for wealth were interpreted by Europeans as signs of inferiority. They believed, they being the Europeans, that these uncivilized, childlike heathens neither appreciated nor deserved their God-given wealth. Consequently, whites rationalized that it was their moral duty to take and utilize Africa's wealth and put blacks to productive work as slaves. And he comes in here with his French accent because they were dominated by the goddamn French, who, like Claude Anderson said, believed they were um, uncivilized, childlike heathens. Quote, and he comes in here around the blacks about FBAs parroting a white talking point. Shame on you. I suggest you go to Sherman Williams and get you a bucket of regular people paint, fly your ass back to Benin and repaint that blood painted building as you pray for the people y'all fucking murdered to paint the goddamn building. Next caller. Pardon my anger. Come up here where you got a building painted in human blood. No, the
I,
crime is low.
it's not. And you don't know what's going to happen over there. Like you said, you could purchase some property, be on your farm, having a good time, planning to plant things, doing everything under the sun, and then all of a sudden some rebels will come. It's not stable. And I'm not saying that it's not like that in other places. I've been in places that became surrounded by rebels, and all of a sudden you're in some hotel and you're feeling kind of naked. You're feeling kind of vulnerable. Like, I hear all this noise around, what's going on? So they could just take over anything at any point.
Right. In America, FBAs who are like he said, I guess gang banging or whatever stereotype he rolling with, we get pulled over by the police, and there is some risk that we could get murdered by the police. That risk is there. But guess what? In America, this nation of laws that has a constitution, our family members, our survivors, or should we survive, we have legal recourse in a court of law against that whole department. Got it? In 2023, I think it was June, I was on a bus heading to a neighborhood outside of Accra called Hohoi. It was about 7 hours, 8 hours outside on a dirt road. Just monkeys and shit walking up and down the road. It was actually kind of beautiful, no cap, and we got stopped at a checkpoint. The dignitary, we had a political official with us that started freaking out. He was in his 70s. He said, "My God, I've never seen this before." We were like, "What do you mean you never seen this?" He said, "I've been coming up and down this road for 60 years, and I've never seen a checkpoint, a military checkpoint, and dudes with fucking AK-47s and camo I ain't never seen before. The camo was fresh, actually, told us to get the fuck off the bus and ask for our passports. Everybody started freaking out because we were told to leave the passports in the hotel room because a monkey might. We were going to a monkey sanctuary. The monkey might snatch it off your neck, etc. But I kept me and my wife's passport because I was like, I ain't leaving my shit in no hotel and get trapped here. So luckily, I had me and my wife's passport in my book bag. So I had a passport, had two passports, and somebody else had their passport. And they called us both out the fucking van. And I'm walking past these dudes with fucking fully loaded AKs that checked our passports and let us roll. They saw American passports. If I didn't have my passport and the dude above me didn't have my passport, Man, we would have fucking disappeared in that jungle, and y'all would have been reading about us in the paper. Don't come to me with goddamn crime in Chicago. I ain't got time for that shit. That place is lawless. Shiloh, what's on your mind?
Hey y'all, how y'all doing, fam? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Peace to the family. Yeah, it's look, my people, I love us. I love us forever and ever. Look, every time we go up around these people, something happens. I can't take it no more. It's just it's done for that, over for that. No, no, it's time for us to focus on us. That's just it. They all like, why are you trying to? It's like, why are you trying to tell? But you guys are hitting this dude with facts, and he said, but no, I never been. What do you say? What are the buts for? What are you trying to make us understand? What for? What? I don't under. it's just like, what is he trying to get us to understand? Like, what do you want us to come there or come be around you or what? You guys always try to do little weird stuff to us every time. Never fails. Yeah. Not sorry for that. That's just crazy. That's all I wanted to say. I really wanted to hear with brother, what's the brother Rob the Whip, when he was saying that, and Wani was trying to Miss Wani was trying to hear what he was saying. What I believe he was saying, when them guys went in that house and they had to sign those NBAs when they were finna flip the hip hop, and that's what they did. That's
Hmm.
why it's messed up now. And I knew about that too. I said, this is crazy. I said, 'cause I said something's wrong. The music ain't sounding right. It's something that went wrong. Now look, it's not. It ain't been the same. It's you guys see this. It's pure something is wrong. They're they're worshiping the devil and all that stuff. I said, this is crazy. What the? But it is what it is. These people been doing this crap, but I'm like, man, they just being more on thick with it. I'm done.
Yeah, no cap. That's the real point, brother. Is we need to turn inward on ourselves. We have children that need help. I serve our Gen Z, and they lost. They out here not knowing which way to go, and they're giving up on school. And this year, I'm at a higher socioeconomic status group. I usually stay in the ghetto because that's what I'm comfortable with. And I thought I was coming to the ghetto in Georgia, but I didn't know Georgia enough. So I'm kind of in the ghetto, kind of, I got a mix of students. Some, most of them are higher higher socioeconomic status, like upper middle class. But Gen Z, or man, they lost, y'all. They know they know that all these stories are cap. They know that going to school don't mean shit. I'm a millennial. We thought that all you had to do was stay in school and stay out of trouble, and it got us $200,000 in debt with a fancy degree that we can't not making money off of. And we all asked out. A lot of us living with parents and shit. Not me. I made better decisions, but I digress. But Gen Z is not disillusioned by the school lie. They know that school don't mean nothing. Everybody ain't trying to join the military, and they're looking for guidance. And what are our academic FBA baby boomer academic class doing? Trying to help some Africans. Help your own goddamn children, please. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, who taught them to hate themselves?
Oh,
We need an extra boost of something.
no cap. Um, I think it was Carrie. Was it Carrie or Starry Branch first?
I'm not sure. I just brought Carrie up, so I'm
I
confused.
think. Well, that's Starry Branch. Go ahead, Starry.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, host, co-host, into the room. Um, just a few things. Who Black Americans have shielded Africa 100%, and we knew, or enough of us did know, what was going on in Africa, what has always went on in Africa, and how they treated us here. And now, finally, we quit shielding these folks, and their true colors are coming out. Um, did they bury their slaves? Man, they did everything to them, every doggone thing to them. And again, we shielded them from the attacks. I remember a long time ago, when somebody had said, someone that was not quote unquote Black American or melanated said, "Well, shoot, they sold y'all." I said, "Well, shoot, y'all didn't have to buy us." That just sounds so ignorant now that in hindsight, just listening, And I'm taking up for the continent and everything else, and I think that we made them look better than what they were. We threw those dashikis on. Um, we bought the products. We tried to quote unquote keep the culture, quote unquote, which was not ours, to be honest, you know. And we really, really we pacified them. So now when they're here and they in our face and they disrespect us, we shielded them. Like I said, they buried slaves alive. They didn't come back for us either. That was the biggest thing. And when they did get back here, they act like they didn't know you. So, with that being stated, no disrespect to them, but it's like that. I'm a Black American, and my primary focus is on Black American issues. I feel sorry for what's going on in your homeland. I would suggest you go there and handle your business. You cannot take my resources from here that is due to me and use them there. I'm not going for that. I don't want to hear about a HBCU Nigeria or HBCU Caribbean, you know, or anywhere else for that matter. You guys have eaten off of us for too doggone long. They're eating good off of us. And still to this day, and I think that, again, black folks have woke up and they were not expecting that. And we're here today. Thank you again.
Oh yeah, it's an awakening going on. And what she just said, what Star Branch just said, was very cogent. It's time for us to focus on our own children, which is common sense. The only group that can say, hey, you know what? Good luck to the rest of the world, but I'm going to focus on my own children. And that be controversial is Black Americans. If anybody else said that shit, the whole fucking world would cheer them on because it's common sense. But when we say, hey man, you know what? I'm dipping out for a minute. I got to take care of my kids. They need my attention. You a bigot, nigga. You are a xenophobic. Just fucking look. The level of entitlement against Black Americans makes my fangs come out, turning me to a goddamn vampire. Anyway, Carrie, she's still up. Come on back up, Carrie. While we wait on Carrie, let's hear from Seven Ford. What's up, Professor?
Oh, hey, yeah, I think Capone's ahead of me.
Oh, right on, brother. I appreciate you. I'm around these crackers anyway,
Oh, I
my
didn't
brother.
notice
But
that. My bad, Capone. Go ahead.
what's going on, Professor? Salute to the greats, Professor, Sister Wani, Sister Nikki. Love y'all. All the greats in the room, brother Arthur. I see y'all, Professor Seven. Yeah, but these spear checkers gonna have to learn their goddamn place. This time, I'm glad all my people woke up. But I got to get back to the plantation. Love, peace, reparations, delineations, and deportation.
Yes, sir, brother. Good to hear from you. Go ahead, Dr. Ward.
Oh, yeah. Hey, hi, how y'all doing? I wanted,
Hey,
y'all had that African caller there. Does this dude not know we've been to their countries? We've seen how y'all living over there. I've seen it myself. It's pretty. I'm not going into it, but I have seen some shit, and I mean that literally. So these people, they don't have a leg to stand on with us. I don't know why they got to keep coming in our spaces and disrupting shit, but like I said, these people are fucked up. They need to go mind. They need to go. I'm seriously. I'm trying to be serious. They need to go mind their fucking business. And
No cap.
because, like I said, man, because you've been to their countries, Miss Wani, you've definitely been to their countries. I've seen. I've been to some of them countries too, and like, so when I went there, I was in the Navy, and and like I even saw it through surveillance. It's really fucked up over there. With that, I yield the mic.
Oh wow. Oh, 7-4, quickly. What was your rate in the Navy?
I was a SWO, surface warfare officer.
Oh wow.
I it's not what I originally wanted to do, but uh, yeah, because I wanted to be I wanted to be nuclear, but but they didn't let me do it, even though they accepted people into the program who had worse grades than I did.
That the nukes are that's what I hear. That's reserved for white boys. That's what I heard.
Yeah, and yeah, because when I was in it was like 80% white,
Yep.
and but they didn't let me do it, so I just said, just let me just do my time and get out. Yeah, I was, dude, I was a slacker back then. I didn't give a shit about nothing. I'm like, these people think I'm stupid. So okay, I'm a man of expectations. You think I'm stupid? Stand by. I'm gonna show you how stupid I can be.
That's funny
I
as
mean,
hell.
I
Stand
mean,
Stand
by.
by.
I, I mean, I can't. I mean, the shit I pulled. I mean, I was. I shouldn't say this, but I had affairs with enlisted women. I wasn't supposed to do that. They could have
Hey,
got.
careful, careful, be careful. People listen to our space.
Hey, shit, mate, slow it up, man. Slow it up.
Hey, hold on now.
You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
all right. I won't go into
Hold on,
too
shit,
much,
mate.
Oh my God, the husbands are in the room.
but
That's called abuse of power, sir.
hey, I couldn't mean the female officers. I couldn't do it, man. They didn't. I mean, I can't even tell you the stories of how just like how unattractive they were. I mean,
Man,
but
man, them swollen ain't shit, man. I seen some shit. I was on the Roosevelt. I was, intel guy for 9/11. And bruh, I could tell you some stories, bro, about how y'all was
oh
acting
yeah, the
fucked up.
swolls, they are the biggest fucking assholes. That's why, man, that was the worst day of my life when I like, shit, I gotta go be a swole. Fuck. Because I couldn't take the test battery to go into aviation. I couldn't. I tried to get a restricted line position, but I'm like, goddamn, man, I can't. I can't even tell you like. So I was like, because we go to Rhode Island for officer
For officer
training.
training, your OCS is there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, man, I ain't taking this shit seriously. Back then, I went to the strip club every
Oh,
night. I then I went to DCA school because, like I said, man, look, I don't care. Like the detail, I was like, man, fuck it. Look, just send me somewhere. They sitting. I got the worst ship, and I went to that ship, and I was like, oh man, I can't do this. So I went to DCA school, and the guy in DCA school, he was an asshole, and so I purposely failed out. And they should have known I was purposely failing out because they give you a little test, a little math test before you get there, and I had gotten a perfect score on the test. So, but I just said, man, look, I just shut down and do I can't even get you. I like
bro,
I'm not going into too much shit I pulled.
bro, but check this out. So on the ship for 9/11 was on the motherfuckers, man. They was getting everybody for fraternization, for fucking around, the men with the women and stuff. Motherfuckers had the what you call the master at arms walking around the ship with goggles on, night vision on, catching people fucking in boats and lockers and shit, and in closets all throughout the ship, sending
Was
them to
that the
captains,
ship that
man.
had the prostitution ring?
Don't even worry about that shit, mate. Just chill out. For anyway, I'm telling the story. You're doing too
Sorry.
much. But anyway, true story, bro. So we get out there, and every week, man, somebody going to captain's mast for fraternization. True story, man. We go out there. We had our first beer day. If you out to sea so many months or weeks or whatever, you get a beer. Man, they did the shit in the way where motherfuckers was on there drunk. Anyway, a bunch of swoles and JOs got in a JO locker room, JO bunk room rather. They had an orgy in that bitch.
Jeez.
Not one officer went to mass. Not one. Motherfucking master, the chief MAC on chief on the master chief on the ship. He said from here on in, y'all need to unlock the rubbers on the ship down in medical. Not one of our sailors will go to mass ever again over fraternization. And the rest of that cruise, we did 9 months out to sea straight. We were fucking our asses off. It was
Yeah,
wild.
Enlightenment.
dude.
What a
Well,
shock.
y'all got more
What
choices
did
on
they think
the
was going to
carrier,
happen?
but I was on some ships. I mean, I was on the smaller decks, so I got like it was slim pickings, man.
Hey, good old days, huh?
Slim pickings.
Yeah, the
What does
women
that
on
look
the
like?
carrier was like, man, we had like three
What does that
thousand
look
women on
like?
the carrier, bro.
Everybody knows the prettiest girls in the military are
3,000?
in the Air Force. Everybody knows that. Better food too.
Yeah, but the best women, as far as having fun and party, Marines. God damn, Marines and then the Army.
Dude, I did a professional development with the United States Marine Corps, and me and my squadron, we were signing I was signing a waiver, and I said, "What the fuck am I signing a waiver for?" I thought it was gonna be academic. When I was done with those dudes, I had auditory hallucinations. Man, they dropped me off at the airport, and in the airport, I heard, "Ah, sir, ah, ma'am, snap, discipline." I was like, "Oh fuck!" They broke my mind. That's when the moment I realized that PDS, post traumatic stress disorder, that shit is real. Like, it's very real. But the Marines are fun. They train all day, all night, and they don't go home. They go directly to the officers club or enlisted club. And we were drinking beer, and like I got in trouble because I drank my beer and put it back on the counter. They were like, "Hell no!" They were like, we're a strike team. We break shit. So when you drink your beer, you gotta like bust that shit. Like, you ever seen Thor? And he drank it. Thor Part One. He drank his beer and he threw that shit at the ground. And said another. That's how the Marines act. They're a lot of fun, man. Whole lot of fun.
Shit, Marine women. If I'm talking about, if you want to party and just have some stuff that you'll never recoup from
Yeah.
sexually,
Yep. No comment.
bruh. I had a female Marine. I messed with a bunch of them for a while. Them motherfuckers crazy as hell, bruh. Some of them scared me. One of them, I had to. That's when I stopped messing with them. She tried to tie me up. I was like, "No, you got to go." she, she, she tried to put me in a buck, man. I'm like, "What the fuck you doing, man?" We had to fight. We got to a fight in the room, bruh. That was it for me. I stopped fucking with him after that.
Yeah, good times. So, did West Africans bury their slaves alive? Yes, they did. So that title was kind of introductory to kind of let people know that West Africans actually had slaves. People still don't believe that. And we've been, when I say we, foundational Black Americans, like the sister said a while back, have been covering for them. I don't understand the more I try to delve into other people's behavior, the more I don't understand our behavior. Why are we covering from people? Let the truth stand on its own. The lawyers call it sua sponte, on its own. Um, um, why don't we just let it stand as it goes? According to Dr. Snyder, free Africans as a group by no means objected to the slave trade. Enslavement did not offend their moral sense. As far as the record shows, though nobody wanted to be enslaved, only a few Africans protested against the slave trade. A good many Africans engaged in the commerce, especially the powerful leaders. The shrewdest of their followers also profited from the flourishing new economy. European goods created new markets with eager buyers. Black Americans, listen to me real closely. What happened to Africa was West African business people made a deal with the Europeans. Now, the Europeans, just like the fucking devil, are not a good people to make deals with. They didn't understand the deal they were engaging into. And at first, West Africans was making good bread. They were making bank off of selling us. But the shit turned on them with the European deal process, and they ended up being enslaved. Um, so this whole shit about Africans having morals, I want y'all to remember that the reason why the African economy is fucked up, shantytown shit flowing through the streets right now is because they never recovered from the transatlantic slave trade that they fucking caused. Why don't they have plumbing? They don't have plumbing because they're what economists call brain drain. But unlike normal places where smart people jump on planes and say, I'm flying or I'm going away, the Africans fucking sold their smart people. Why? Dr. Chancellor Williams teaches us that the Portuguese were looking for smart people. They weren't looking for dummies. The Portuguese came to West Africa and sweeping up all their smart people because they needed to build. The Europeans were working on a master project. What were the Europeans trying to rebuild? Egypt. The Europeans had a secret meeting where they were trying to and I'm really saying too much, but fuck it, I've already said it. They were trying to rebuild Egypt. The whites, quote unquote whites, the Europeans, they didn't white didn't exist back then, but they wanted their chance at having a land just like Kemet, and they were sweeping up the engineers, the scientists and the mathematicians of the West Africa, and putting them you know where. And the West African dumbasses was selling them. So the smartest people in West Africa ended up being sucked out of West Africa, and they were left with a bunch of fucking business people and their subordinates that didn't trust each other. And because they were selling each other. How could you trust your neighbor? And that's why when you go to West Africa right now, you see just different jurisdictions where they speak different languages a couple miles away from each other, and they don't fuck with each other. And people in uh, Ghana are scared of Benin because they never were fucking with each other. They engaged in a poor business deal. But in my view, as a man, that was their fault. You should not engage in business with people you don't understand. I was watching a movie, and we're gonna go to Fresh. I was watching a movie. Damn, my lady had me watching a movie. I forgot the name of it, but it was a movie with Bradley Cooper and Christian Bale. It was about like scamming or some shit. It got nominated. I can't think of the name of the movie now. But anyway, in the movie there was a mayor, basically an Italian mayor in New York in the 70s, who was just really nice and let people, got invited to parties with some fucking con artists and some gangsters. And was like, oh yeah, I'll party with you. We can have drinks. I'll bring the wife. Da, 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 da. That was stupid. Now that mayor was innocent. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't engaging in any illegal activity. He was just a nice guy. But as a man, he should have researched who the fuck he was going to dinner with before he went to dinner with him. He going to dinner with Italian gangsters and fucking con artists. He, as a man, you supposed to know who you do business with, because it's not just you at stake; it's your family at stake. You know what I'm saying? And the West African tribal chiefs didn't care enough to do research on who they were going into business with. They were going into business with people who survived the Young Dryas in that cold. They're going to business with a malnourished, vicious group of people that they did not understand. Fresh, what's on your mind?
Hey, Professor Allen, Nikki, Hawani. Hi, guys.
Hey, hey,
Hey.
what up?
Hey, I wanted to not to regress the conversation, but it's funny that you said that um, because the guy who was up here, being, even though he was Senegalese, he was in Benin. Benin was known to be the kingdom who, I guess, acquired the most wealth um, during the Atlantic slave trade. They did vicious raids throughout the kingdoms. Um, it's crazy because even when we talk about voodoo or voodoo, whatever they call it, with all of these things, um, Africans have, because of, I guess, how their societies were structured, they have tribal laws. So he knows that even these laws that's created, by colonizers or whatever, these quote unquote state laws, like Wani was speaking about, um, they also have traditional practices. So these practices, they've been doing them for centuries. So they didn't stop because uh, Europeans decide to, cut up Africa. They still have these practices today. And these deities, they don't talk about them as much, but when they have these religion practices, they have to feed these deities what they ask for. So sometimes that can be a wide range of things. They ask for children's, you know, vocal cords, like crazy stuff, and they have to go get these limbs and, to give to these deities as a sacrifice in order for them to, so it's just ironic to bring up Benin out of everything. I mean, these kingdoms were from reigned from the 1500s to, I want to say 1900, but I could be wrong about that. So I'll think safe is just say it like the 18. But like Professor Allen said, when Europe outlawed slavery because they built the economy structure on a slave market. And so when it was outlawed, it broke them. Today, they're still sitting on their high horse drunk. You got drunk chiefs. It's crazy. So yeah, these practices still exist today, and you can see them throughout many different countries, like the Congo and other parts of Nigeria. Um, they call them human sacrifices. So, and then they have these shrines, and they had them in Ghana. I've never visited Ghana. I have visited Nigeria. I will never go back. But
What did you not like about Nigeria?
I didn't. It was a lot of stuff I didn't understand. So when I visit, I was there with a friend, and I went to a wedding, and so there was just a lot of things I just didn't understand. Like I saw a family living behind her family's house, and I didn't understand. I saw them in the house, and I saw them, welcome us in the gate, but I didn't think nothing of it. And it doesn't look like wealth, what we would determine wealth, where they would have butlers, but it looked like an average middle class family. So this is why it was just a lot of disturbing things. And it was just I couldn't be there. You had to take malaria pills. Like you couldn't drink the water. I was just not. And then they thought it was funny to try to offer me shit that, excuse my language. They try to offer me things that I don't eat. Like it was just I had fun in some sense, but then once I kind of became more aware of the behaviors, it was just I just and then I see Makoko. I've seen these that slum on water, like slum on, it was like a lake water. They call it Makoko, and I didn't see any kids swimming in the sewage water, but I saw the conditions and the dilapidated homes. And so what we consider poverty is not, it's not exactly what they're experiencing. They have something that's called abject poverty. And so yeah, and I just wanted to draw that correlation with Benin, and then the argument he made. They also have tribal laws. I want you to be aware of that too, and how they govern themselves. So they don't care really about those colonial laws, like the state laws. Yeah, they might, can be
Well,
punished, but it's so,
I believe that she's we heard what she said. They don't really give a fuck about
yeah, it's so corrupt. So
they.
it's just, yeah, like Wani was saying, it's not that it's safer. What do you consider crime? America have violent crime because we have gun laws. It's different. So, and they don't have infrastructure. So
One way, ladies and gentlemen, when you travel, let me give you a little sneak. And the naval officers in here and the military people in here will know this. The way you tell, let me give you a good litmus test to find out how much law and order is in an area. A good test is to look at the cops, look at the police officers, and see what kind of weapons are they carrying. If you go to Germany, which is a place that has high order, they may have a little 9mm on them. Hell, the police may not have a gun at all. You go to London, all the police don't have weapons on them. But you go to these places like fucking sub-Saharan Africa, and you see just a regular cop, on the beat cop, got a fucking FAL or AK. That's saying something. That's saying that the cop is that tells you what type of opponents the cop is up against. If every police force is acting like the SWAT team, you're in an area that's fucking hostile towards police officers. So watch that. And when the moment I landed in Africa, I saw the fucking regular on the beat cops had FALs. I was like, why do you have those? Well, the reason why they have those is because there's very little law and order. These people don't give a fuck about the cops.
They don't.
Don't the
And soon as
military
you,
double
yeah,
as the police in those countries?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep.
soon as you get there, everybody's trying to scam you. It's scam. It's alarming. You know, you really have to be careful. They will go as far as like finding your name on your luggage and trying to pose as a Uber driver. You know, somewhere they're going to take you to your
That happened to me.
destination.
That happened to me.
I bet it did. And so you were right. I did see the militant cops that, you know, that was, it was a lot of, I mean, the smell, it was just, it was strange. It was, you know, I think if I do visit Africa, it'll be more like a South Africa and maybe
Yeah,
East Africa. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ethiopia or South Africa is better.
Yeah.
That's what everybody says. I need to check
I
South
would
Africa
never go
out.
to South Africa. That's the worst.
Yes.
What?
South Africa is the worst. I would go to like Botswana or Namibia,
Yeah, those are nice too.
not South
Hmm.
Africa.
Why
South
not? I like the Cape.
because South Africa is just like no man's land.
I like no man's land.
They have no control over their government and
I'm not
police.
there to vote. I'm not interested in voting.
No, I mean they have no control, as in they let gangs
Oh,
roam.
you mean the safety?
Yeah,
Well, that's true. There are safety issues. There are rape issues, highest number one in rapes. So yeah, that's a problem.
shootouts in
But
public. People, I mean, whole
that's not
trains get
good.
robbed.
Shootouts in public. That's not fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. I might go to
You
Tanzania.
may have to not go there
I
now.
Yeah,
mean,
that
yeah, it's a risk
you might
everywhere
want to.
though.
Yeah,
If
I
you really
wouldn't
think
go.
about it.
I wouldn't go to South Africa. I feel like it's worse than even like some
Not even
countries.
not even Cape Town.
Uh,
Wani, if they're no,
debatable.
if there's rape rates
Ugh,
are up, I don't want to be there. I'll find another country.
weird.
well,
That's
that's
strange. My
disgusting.
my next African country I want to visit. I still got active visa to West Africa. I mean to Ghana. I don't think I'm going back anytime soon.
Everybody,
But
I would highly,
I was looking at Tanzania, and
I
I've
would
never been to
highly,
Tanzania.
I would highly
It,
suggest
it
Botswana because it's one of like the
it's
few
nice.
the few African countries in Africa that has they have a high GDP per capita. The crime is very low.
Uh,
The unemployment is very
hold on 1 second. Base black man. Where are your people from?
America.
Where what
What's
part
wrong
of
with your vocal cords?
yeah, what part of America are you from?
Oh, I live in the East Coast in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I detect the accent.
Me too.
An
And
accent? Like what kind of accent?
Mm-hmm.
if I had to
Mm-hmm.
guess, I would say Nigeria, actually.
Oh wow, way off.
Could be, but
Way,
it's not.
way,
It
way off.
it could be, but like it's not America. Like where your family from?
Well, my dad on my dad's side, he's Black American. On my mom's side, Italy.
Okay, what part of Italy?
Um,
Legos.
northern
Legos,
Yeah,
Italy.
exactly.
northern Italy. I was born on a military
Northern
base.
Legos.
Hold on,
Got it.
parle Italiano.
Japa.
Well, I don't know any Italian anymore.
How your mom Italian? You don't know Italian?
Oh,
I speak
come
Italian,
on.
motherfucker.
You speak
You playing with the
Italian?
wrong one. Your mom's Italian. You don't speak Italian. You want to know
No,
why? Because your mom's from Nigeria.
no, I'm not Nigerian.
Legos Italian.
Not African at all. Well, I mean African
Mm-hmm.
genetics, but not
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
anything like I
Mm-hmm.
live there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't buy it. I hear Nigeria coming all out your mouth.
You hear what you want to hear.
Well, you were telling us about all the African places that we shouldn't visit.
Yeah, because I
Now,
look.
I
How
wanted
you
to
know about
say,
them?
How do I know about it? Because I look it up because this is like something I should
look, I
know.
just wanted to say it depends on what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
Okay. You got to say what your activities are and then you can decide where you want to go and what you're going to do. That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so because a lot of times I speak to people and they're going to see the club scene. I'm like, you're
Mhm.
going to South Africa to go to a club? That's the opposite of what I've ever done. I've never gone over to some place to see the nightlife or the actually I don't even care about seeing people. That's just a side thing. Oh, let's see what your traditional dance is. Oh, that's cute. Goodbye. I'm off to see a giraffe. See ya.
I knew you were gonna say that. You want to be on the
You
Kenya
knew I
has
safari.
like
I
giraffes.
just
Kenya
knew it.
I
has
like
like
giraffes.
Lions
super
are out there too, Wani.
I know they
Ken-
chase people
Kenya
and
has super
and they like me.
safari.
I'm a vegan, so they want to eat me probably. They know that I'm not a carnivore and they like to eat animals that eat vegetables. So I really feel nervous around lions because they look at me twice. Yeah, they look at me.
And they're huge.
They're huge and they rubbed up against the Jeep and the guy, oh no, he might get no 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 no. This lion is getting too close.
Have you been
Whoa.
to safari?
Yeah, in Tanzania.
We're gonna go ahead and go with Cool Breeze. Go ahead, Cool Breeze.
Hey, what's going on, brother Professor and Sister
What's
Nikki?
going on, man?
And hey, what's going on? What's going on, Sister Wani as well? Yeah, you guys, just want to add to what you guys are saying because when especially particularly when you're going in other countries, particularly like third world countries, a lot of their government systems are way behind us. You know, they have whether little or to no governing. There's a lot of corruption that goes on. To where they um, is rent. Some of the areas are rent. Either like some of you guys mentioned before, tribalism, right? Warlords, cartels. I mean, you name it. It's ran by it. It's some of the areas. It's they have which like almost like a no man's land. They're not governed. They really don't have a government, and it's ran by like a bunch of rebels. I mean, it's just so many things, factors that comes into play when you go into some of these countries outside the United States and stuff like that, because they have either little or to no governing, and if they do have some governing, it is definitely some corruption going on or whatnot, and it's totally different, way different than the United States. Traditions, some of their laws are governed, are not just their laws. It may be governed by like their tribal leader. Their tribal leader is makes the laws,
Yep.
right? So it really depends on what area you're going to into some of these countries because is it's at your own risk. I definitely highly advise if you do travel outside of the country, definitely go to the U.S. Embassy website and actually get some intel as far as like certain areas where not to go because it's highly preferably that there's a lot of crime going there. You could be possibly get kidnapped because they don't want Americans there. I mean, just so many things that you can get your information from on the U.S. Embassy website or whatnot to have yourself aware to when you go in these countries to understand their traditions because a lot of things that we do here in the United States, they don't do, to them is considered offensive. And then next thing you know, you're getting locked up in their prison system or whatnot. So there's so many things, so many factors because you're dealing with international laws, whether international laws or you're dealing with that country's law or that tribalistic area laws, or they make their own laws because it's ran by some rebel or terrorist organization and they make their own laws. So you go in those areas, if you spit on the ground, they may consider that offensive. And next thing you know, you're getting locked up and they're trying to extort money from you. And with that, I'll land.
Well, he said something very important that I really didn't think of earlier. He's right. He's so right. What he said was these areas are governed by their local tribal units. Basically, he didn't say units. I'm paraphrasing, but that's so true because all the neighborhoods I went through in Ghana and Togo, well, especially Ghana, had a queen mother. Like it was matrilineal, and they had an old woman who was like the shot caller of the area block, and there was a separate hierarchy from the government, quote unquote, government parliamentary structure, and it looked really at first glance it looked like they weren't related. It looked like, hey, Queen Mother gonna do what she do, and the government gonna do what they do, and it was some type of mutual respect, but it wasn't like the Queen Mother was part of the government. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like Queen Mother was gonna call the cops on you. So yeah, that's a big consideration. If um the matrilineal sub government structure don't like you, they get you up out that house. They offered me land too at a cheap rate. I didn't buy none of that shit though. Um, let's see, RCD Diva, what's on your mind? Oh, she got kicked off. Yeah, we'll wait on RCD Diva to come back up. Anybody else had a comment about West African morals, about these Nigerian morals, about these what they call it, the Greek.
What morals are you saying that they actually have them? You're talking like they have them. Do they
Yeah.
exist?
Yeah, they come over.
I mean, our people are very brainwashed because I remember early in this, like about 5 years ago, I went into a room and some incel was on the stage arguing, talking about at least they have morals, at least they have strong families. And it's like, please stop trauma bonding on the spaces. You don't know what they have. You're not in these people's families. These people have vicious domestic violence. And I'm not even talking about just men hitting people. I'm talking about brothers and sisters, just family brawls, beating the living crap out of each other. The cheating we discussed, the paternity fraud we discussed, the domestic violence and the abuse of women we discussed, and the general violence in the family, the solving things by slapping each other and punching each other. This is what they call, and then the forced marriages, arranged marriages with underage children, sometimes prepubescent. That's an issue. And then they say we don't have divorces. Of course you don't. 8-year-olds can't get a divorce. Okay? And your family makes these people stay there. So how are they going to leave or get a divorce? By the time we see them, they're already broken and they don't even know they're doing something that's harmful to them. They don't even know they're participating in a harmful activity because if you're born into it, it's different. Just like if you're born into anything. If you're born into uh, poverty, you're going to feel like you're not poor. You're not going to know you're poor until you see somebody that's rich. When you're born into that, you're born into being a bride at 8 years old, you're not going to know that you could have had a childhood. See, you don't know that. That's how you're raised. Just like Mormons, um, they're doing some strange things and then they find out, hey, wait a minute, I don't have to marry my brother and I shouldn't be sleeping with my father. They learn that later, but they're born into it. So this is the way
Yeah,
that they've been in that's their culture.
Yeah, it's really
yeah.
it's really sad and true. It sounds like Wani's being mean. She's not. I saw an example with my own fucking eyes the short time I was in Ghana of a young lady. I've said this before. She was 11, and her own goddamn daddy sold her, sold his daughter off into marriage to a 40-some-year-old man. And the man got her pregnant and she had a baby at 12, maybe 11. Maybe she was pregnant at 11, but she had the baby at 12, and her body wasn't ready to have a child. And the baby was baby boy. He was born with, he was fine, but she had all kind of health problems from having a baby that young. And the her husband, if that's what the fuck you can call that bastard, didn't like her because her body was ripped up and just dumped her back off on her dad's porch. And the dad's family took her in and treat her like a goddamn leper. It's awful. It's awful. And she was talking in the interview like she didn't know that that was wrong. And her issue is why did my dad? She had two issues. It was actually heartbreaking. number one, her issue is why doesn't my daddy why did my dad want me back? I'm her daughter. And the main issue is why can't I see my son? I want to see my child. I mean, it just gives you, man, you make you want to just fall to the floor and start crying. So what Wani was saying is actually verifiably true. They don't know. They don't know that. Wait a minute. I was goddamn 11 years old. We need to call some uncles, and if that shit would have happened to a family member of mine, man. Shit. What's that song by Plies? In them bushes. I've been in them goddamn bushes. That nigga have. Anyway, Fresh, what's up?
When he said those bushes, I immediately thought about the who was it, the Cameroonian president
Yep.
who told Wani, who was it, the God, yeah, I think it was the Cameroonian.
Cameroonian
Mhm.
hide in the bush. You mean the hedge?
Oh my God, yeah. I kind of lost my train of thought, but I was gonna say what I wanted to ask you guys: what kind of customs, family values, or even environment where they think it's okay. They have this practice where if the family's impoverished, they can bring the children to the market. And actually, it's funny in Congo, I saw videos of them having them like in a bag, like bringing them to the market. It was,
Jeez.
yeah, to sell them. So we don't talk about these things, and they don't talk about these things, but it's pretty common not only to sell the children as bride prices to a husband or some older guy, but they also bring them into the market. So
But
Barbaric. That is barbaric.
we're supposed to socialize with these fucking people. What you
Well,
telling me sounds like a military goddamn app operation. Like I'm thinking, okay, let's meet them and we're gonna save the children and set claymores right here. When they walk up, blow the claymores. That's what I'm thinking. That's a FBA's mindset. Is okay. What we gonna do to save these kids? They selling the kids like they selling some goddamn fruit. It's craziness.
I think it's just slavery. They still have these cultural practices. I'm saying when we talk about family values, and we always, think Africans have, stronger moral. They don't practice morality. They're not humanitarians. They're not. I mean, even someone who was just a UN uh Decatarian. I don't know who she was. She was something in the UN, and I know she was a judge in her country, but I don't know which country. But she just got caught, and I think she was charged with just human trafficking. Like she had this woman working for her. I don't know what country she was in, but yeah, she was not paying her, and she forced her to take care of her kids and to serve her, and she took this lady out the country somehow. I don't know, but it's crazy. I'll put some links in the chat, but yeah, I mean these practices keep continue to happen even when we talk about bringing children to the market to be sold. Where's these practices coming from?
Right.
yeah,
Welsing, what's on your mind? We're going to Welsing, then we'll go to the Cool Breeze and Base. Go ahead, Welsing.
Yeah, hi everybody. How's everyone doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good, good. When I listen to you, I think about Oprah Winfrey and wonder what the hell was her reason for investing so much money in schools in Africa when she come from a state of called Mississippi. When I've been to Mississippi a number of times to prospect for different entities, and you look at the disparities. Jackson, Mississippi alone is in such dire need of her money and schools that you wonder how could she live with herself? This woman's a billionaire. What came out of that school? Anything great in Africa? I have not heard one thing that's great that came out of that school. And anyone else, and any of those students, what are they doing that is so profound?
Oh, and
Who graduated from those schools?
Welsing, to make matters worse. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out why my webcam on my laptop just came on all of a sudden. But
I
to
have a cover on my laptop that just came with the computer. It covers it up. You have to get some black tape or something like that and put it over there.
oh yeah, this shit's wild. It just came on all of a sudden. But I didn't ask it to. But anyway, back to the point, Wells, and you bring up some you knocking on a door. I don't know if you want to open. Cause
No, I want to open it. My company has had assignments with certain HBCUs around the country, and a part of our assignment is to retrofit buildings. You have buildings on HBCU campuses that have asbestos. Students are breathing in asbestos. You have
right.
dormitories and lunch auditoriums and study halls that are not up to any type of code. And we scramble to rebuild these buildings. And and oftentimes I think about her because she doesn't even have to come out of her pocket. Her name alone, she can leverage that for billions of dollars. She doesn't do shit.
Well,
She doesn't do a damn thing.
you beat me to it actually, Welsing. Oprah went to Tennessee State, and
Yes.
Tennessee State is in money trouble right now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Why in the
is.
fuck doesn't she give them a bill? You know what she could do with one of her $1 billion to Tennessee State? She could turn Tennessee State into a world class institution, but she's investing in an African school.
Look,
Shit.
Professor, I know this as fact because I sit down with department heads of different banks to try to get money or get the money to get these buildings up to code. Number one. Number two, it forces these students to be in hotels, old hotels that have been abandoned. Some of them are just not up to par. They're
Facts.
living in hotels studying. That's not a good health, and that's not a good environment for students, and it certainly isn't a healthy environment for students.
Imagine the
And I could say a
imagine
lot.
imagine no, I'll let you finish, but I just want to kind of interject right there with the hotels. Imagine fucking Howard University did this. Imagine the predatory element that found out that young girls, college age girls, are going to be in a hotel room. Imagine the predatory type people who moved in on them because they were at a hotel. Imagine the pimps and shit that said, there are going to be some 18-year-old girls in college here that's going to be needing some lunch money, that's going to be needing stuff, because you know you need stuff in college, and you going to put them in a goddamn hotel and they paying tuition. Shame on you, foundational Black American administrators. We've been sold out by those goddamn boomer ass PhDs. I seen it when I was a professor and administrator. I could not
Yes,
believe what
indeed.
I was watching.
Yes, indeed. The problem is, and I can't say much because I'm under NDA for some things, but I can tell you this, that 60% of the problems with HBCUs is not so much that they have people that are non Black Americans in position. It's that the people that sit on the board, they have no money management education. Not only that, they are given a tremendous amount of responsibility by way of millions of dollars, and they don't know anything about building. They know nothing about they know nothing. And then they turn around and have to turn to my company and my partners to then help rebuild what they just built.
Wow.
And it is insane. And when I look at somebody like Oprah Winfrey, who does not have to come out of her pocket, but could leverage her name. She is a listen. I don't like her, but I give her I give her the respect because I know the power behind just her two names, Oprah Winfrey. That could leverage billions of dollars if she really wanted to. If she put her mind to it, she could, and she doesn't. And that's why I raised my hand because I know what I see when I travel around the country, and I know what I'm up against, and my partners are up against, and I just wonder what the hell is she doing? Like, how does she walk this earth and this country, and she doesn't even help her own people? She doesn't like black people. She surrounds herself with middle aged, blonde, fat, single white women and gay people. That's it. And she does nothing for her people. Like, I want to know that school in Africa, who's come out of it and what are they doing? Because they certainly aren't doing anything that I can hear of.
Craziness. Yeah.
So I just land with that.
It's an
Thank you.
absolute and some people call that the decadent veil. It's an outright betrayal. And that's what's been happening with foundational black Americans is these rich celebrity asses with their quote unquote $1 billion. I'm to the point where I don't believe Roper has a billion. I know they say she got 2 billion. I don't believe it. She's not acting like a billionaire, you know. But it's been a certain group of people, a small handful who've been preordained to be rich and to be paraded in front of us so we could live vicariously through them and have some false hope and aspirations of you can be just like Oprah Winfrey. Yeah, right. It's psychological warfare, in my opinion.
Does anyone know how much money? Because I don't remember. Does anyone know how much money Oprah Winfrey gained from the Democratic Party while Kamala was running or Kamala was running?
Two
Wasn't it
million.
about, wasn't it like $200,000 or something like that?
Oh
Or
no, I
no,
thought it was
maybe
I
$2 million.
know it was
One
more
2
than
more.
million.
yeah.
Sorry, 2
It was
million.
like more than
Yeah.
everyone else. But why would she need to do that if she had $1 billion?
Well,
If
she
she really believed in the
claimed
Democrats. I didn't hear you,
according to her,
Blessing.
didn't go to her. Oh, I don't know if you can hear me, but it didn't go to her.
It went to her organization, but that's still going to her because it's her organization. It went to Harpo Studios or
Exactly.
something like that.
Yeah, see, but we're on the same page, Nikki, because my logic is why do you need this? And if you have $2 billion, there should be institutes, industry. Like people don't just sit on billions of dollars. They take the billions of dollars, and I follow Robert Kiyosaki, and Robert Kiyosaki may be a billionaire. He's up there. But what Robert Kiyosaki does is he takes his money. He says it doesn't make sense to hold on to fiat currency, i.e., paper money, because according to Kiyosaki, it's constantly losing value. So the game, according to Kiyosaki, that billionaires and big time millionaires play is they roll their money, they invest their money into real estate, into industry, where it is constantly accruing value. And I know about Harpo Studios, but other than that, what is she investing her money in? And if she's such a proud black person, why is she investing her money into black American kids like Welsing said? She's investing money into fucking African schools. What does that got to do with Mississippi? Nothing.
I think she
May I just say
wanted.
one more thing,
Yes, ma'am.
Professor? Can you hear me? Or I'm sorry, Wani, go ahead.
I,
Okay. No, I want to say, have you been on and to Jackson State University?
Yeah, yeah,
Have you
I
been on that
have.
campus?
I've been on Jack State campus in 2018, and I was a little disappointed. It looked like a war zone down there.
Exactly, exactly my point. I mean, if you look at what's around it, there's nothing for those students around there. And I'm saying to myself, this woman if I'm not mistaken, wasn't she born in Mississippi or was raised in
Yeah,
Mississippi at one point?
she's
I'm
from
saying to myself,
it's a Kogusco or something. It's a neighborhood. Hold on.
yeah, yeah,
Kosciuszko. Hold on. Sco, Mississippi. I'm looking it up. Yeah, she's from Kosciuszko, and it's like in the middle of nowhere. But
yeah.
it could definitely use a school system, right? So that's my point exactly. There's no school system there. She doesn't have a private. How about have the Oprah Winfrey charter school system? Why is that non-existent? It looks like Oprah's gone out her way to not help foundational Black Americans, from my view, for whatever that's worth.
she made some statement about why she did that, but isn't it easier to traffic girls from Africa where there's no oversight rather than in Chicago?
Boom, there you go. You hit the nail on the head, Wani. That's it.
Right. If,
May I interject about Oprah? That's something I know about her.
oh, come on with it.
Yeah,
Same
you know
here.
she's
That's
been
why I
self.
have.
Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. We'll go seventh ward and sway me.
Okay. This is what I know about Oprah. She's been selling out black people her entire life. Do y'all guys know who Mark Furman is?
Oh yeah, the OJ guy, right?
Yeah, she helped rehabilitate his image. She had him on
Jeez.
her show and had him, lie and say that he's not a racist and shit like that. Mark Furman is a fucking neo-Nazi. That one of the few white guys who I trusted to tell me the truth was Stephen Singh. And Stephen Singular, he died unfortunately last year. But he wrote a book called Legacy of Deception, where he pretty much wrote the book that pretty much proved that he planted the glove on Simpson's property, and he turned that information over to the defense, and that's the real because of Singular. That was the real reason why Simpson got off because because his investigation. Well, he told me before he died, he and his wife tried to reach out to the producers on Oprah Winfrey show where Furman was going to appear, and they tried to warn them, "Hey, this guy, we got the goods on this guy. This guy, he's a piece of shit. He's planted evidence on other suspects in the past. Like, I mean, but got no respect. So yeah, so that's who Oprah is when it comes to selling out black people. I yield the mic.
Come on with it, Sway Me.
Oh yeah, good afternoon or good evening.
Good after,
So
good evening.
so I you just said a great deal of what I noticed at HBCUs, Professor. One I do want to highlight though. Oprah Winfrey did attempt, and this was when I was at Tennessee State University. And what I learned was she did attempt at one time to actually give the school money. She wanted the performing arts. To be updated, built, and she was going to put it in her father's name. They decided they did not want to do business with her because at the time, somehow, her father, if you all don't know or can't recall, he was then or a young lady was saying that he raped her, right? So that came out where then TSU administration did not want to do any business with her. But from what I did learn, she did have a scholarship for 100 Black men of America, where they were attending Morehouse and some other schools and things of that nature and supporting them in that way. Not that I support Oprah Winfrey. This is just some things that I've heard. Um, the other thing at the HBCUs, it is very important. You all hit on something that I have noticed, and I think this is purposefully done, intentionally done by the faculty and the staff, and making sure that these individuals do not have safe spaces. Meaning, they do allow these older men that are alumni to come out on the campuses and cruise the campus, knowing that these young women are really hungry and they don't have money. So,
Facts.
yep, then they start trying to date them. I have seen it, witnessed it, and they have come to me and told me about some things as well. So, that does happen. It's not just unfortunately somewhere else it's happening with our students and with our youth on these college campuses. There's a lot that goes on that the parents are not aware of, that the faculty and staff will make sure they don't get word out. Besides of that, as well with TSU, Tennessee State University, right? So TSU's I think management, not only the board, but or the trust board of trustees. At one point in time, Tennessee State University decided to, I think, give up their private or their actual accreditation in a way so they could get help from the state with admissions, and hence has been the downfall of Tennessee State ever since then. Growing up, I can remember Tennessee State was number one in aerospace. They also had a number one nursing program that is also since has been totally disrupted and destroyed. So, the school, engineering, top in engineering. at one point in time as well. So
Yeah.
Tennessee State at this point in time, I do believe because of the executive management from Glover and all those others that have been in place in the school, they destroyed it. Because to me, we know that a lot of the federal money comes down to the state for these schools. And in the meantime, of them knowing that the state was not giving them the money as they needed, they didn't say anything. They kept going, acting as if it wasn't a problem. They didn't speak up. Because I remember when I was there, when they again had this freeze or bad temperatures, real winter temperatures here in Nashville, and they decided that, you know what, the heat was off. The kids were upset. It took them 3 days, and still in 3 days the heat wasn't on, but the children or the youth were getting very upset. They were beginning to call their parents that are alumni, and then they decided they're going to have to rectify the problem. So, yeah, it is some of the management and the board that do make sure that these HBCUs, to me, will not prevail. That's where I'm at after being at the HBCUs. So I'll land.
Yeah, and Tennessee State, sway me. The state of Tennessee took over. I've never even heard. I don't know how it's legal. I guess Tennessee State is a state university, but maybe last year, the year before, well, I still was at Lemoyne on. Maybe 2 years ago, the state of Tennessee took over. They fired the board and installed their own like puppet board. It's so much injustice that no people aren't covering this. Let me give y'all a question, something to play with. Tennessee State is a state university, right? Guess what? So is UT. UT is a state university. Tennessee State is historically black, and University of Tennessee UT is PWI. Which one do you think gets more money from the state of Tennessee?
We already know.
How
And
does
they
that?
get the money though. The state of Tennessee is not sending the money to Tennessee State University. It's in the budget.
Right.
It's in the budget, but they're not receiving the money.
How do like that's open, it's open record for anybody to look at. So my question is, how does that go on? Like, duh.
You got too many hands in the cookie jar. It depends on who the treasurer, who handles the finances, and their executives and stuff like that. So it's a lot of hands in the cookie jar.
Why aren't we complaining? Why? I mean, UT got so much money, man. They got a medical school, they got law schools, they got farm. Go to
Now,
Memphis. That's their.
now, do you
Go
hear
ahead.
any of these professors or faculty or management, I guess you could say, at these HBCUs saying, "Hey, we got money in the budget, and they're not sending it to us"? Do you hear that?
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
Okay.
I didn't when I was faculty. I didn't. Everybody just trying to keep their job, and the tenured boomers PhD class. I don't know why the fuck they like that ain't none of my business, child. They got that attitude, or I'm just gonna get mine, and I'm just gonna make it to retirement, child. It's so
Look,
disgusting.
look, even Eddie George became the coach at Tennessee State University, and he was sounding the alarm about how they had
Right.
money and was not receiving it.
yeah. That's because it's a lot of corruption going on. All right, I think for one, I think the treasurer, the comp controller, right? It's a lot of factors. For one, the executives, the boards, because they're the ones that make a decision on the money, right? But also the person or persons that's in charge of the treasury of the money, like the CFO, the treasurer, right? They're the ones that know the ins and out, what's going in and what's going out of the organization because they have to keep track of it. Now there's a lot of people probably on the executive board or someone that's in charge of the money. They're making finding ways loopholes on filtering money, in basically in their own pocket and then other making side deals or whatnot. That's why the money is not reaching those other universities or entities, because people that's in charge at the end of the day, they know where the money's going. They're just all making they're taking that money and embezzlement, or taking that money and putting it, lining their own pockets, putting it elsewhere or whatnot, because they're getting that money from whether it's federal, state, or private corporations. They know how much money they're getting. They're just distributing it amongst themselves, or a small group of people that's in charge of the money, knowing where the money is going, and they're making side deals or taking the money and doing other side deals without nobody making it aware of it or whatnot. I'll land with that.
Right, right, right.
Professor, can I just say something, one
Y-
thing,
y- uh,
and to what he
One
was
more
saying?
thing. Go ahead.
It's almost like when I step in, when my company and I step in, it's almost like a receivership with some of these boards, because when the money can land, but it doesn't land in the right places. Let me just put it that way. You peel the curtain back and you will see that the money has not reached where it's supposed to reach. And so when I step in, it is the last resort. And so, to what Cool Breeze was saying, everything he said was absolutely spot on. It is a lot of it is the misappropriation of funds, and it has done such a disservice to these HBCUs and the students that go there. And you wonder, what is this all about? It's not about the education of the young people. It is about just what you were saying. They're more concerned about their tenure and just let me just be quiet so I can retire and not be bothered. And that's a lot of this. But you'd be surprised. I mean, well, I'm not, but you would be surprised where the money goes and where it's not going, and how it has been allowed to happen for the amount of years that it has. And so, when I step in, I've got people that are expertise on certain departments and certain things. I'm more like the quarterback, and they come and they let me know. And sometimes, what will happen is that, we'll have a forensic accounting, and usually, almost always, the end result is not pretty, and it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame that the HBCUs have these kind of people that are sitting on these boards. And I'll land with that.
Oh yeah, back to these great African morals. If you go to Benin, they have a very proud statue of a woman with her top exposed, bound before somebody like slices her head off. Like this is part of the culture there. It's called let's find out. It's in. It's called the Door of No Return. The Door of No Return, a memorial.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to say that. Uda. It's Ouidah. Uda, Benin. So this dude talking about my man talking about ain't no crime in Benin and it's the safest place. And they got like a straight up statue of a woman about to get her throat slit, breast out, hands bound in Uda. It's a museum in Uda, Benin to talk about the Middle Passage. Do you know more about that, Wani? About that,
The
about the
door of no
yeah?
return.
'Cause I've heard you say that before. I'm not really
Yeah,
educated
they
on.
have the doors of no return. It's just as simple as that. You go through the door and you don't return. Um,
They had one in
and
Ghana, but go ahead.
yeah, no, they make money off of these memorials. And it's just, to me, when I first went, I felt very sad. I felt a heaviness. But when I thought about it years later, I said, these people are making money off of selling human beings, and they're still generating money, and they would never even think, because they position themselves as these poor, beat down people that need charity, they would never even dream of donating that money to Black Americans living in poverty. They would never think of that. But yeah, they have these doors of no return. And I say to myself, when they tour you around, they kind of brag about it, like, oh, these were the glory days.
Yeah,
Now we're
you do
jacked
get that
up.
sense of, yeah, back then
Uh-huh.
we could do that. Like, what the
And
fuck?
exactly. And it reminded me of touring some of these um, colonial built towns in South America where the white people on the tour were so happy, like, oh, look, these were the glory days. It's like, it's the same attitude, but it's almost like having a Nazi tour you around Auschwitz. Like, why would I do that? Why don't we know what we're doing? Why have we bought into Pan Africanism so hard without any kind of proof of what we were buying into? I mean, we didn't even think about it. We just took the Pan Africanist point of view, thinking that everybody brown, and that is trauma, from being enslaved, from being living in a black white setting. We feel that everybody that looks like us would be subject to. We lived under this type of rule for a long time. We were born into it, and that means something. I want people to understand that there's difference between having an experience and being born generation after generation into something. We were born into a black white setting, and so for us, it's very, very prominent in our mind that everyone brown was going to have to be subject to being enslaved, even if they had freedom papers and they lived in a free area and they were free people of color. Slave catchers would still go up there and harass people. They'd have to hide out in churches. People that were passing for white had to hide at times if someone found out they had a black grandfather or something like this. So we've lived in terror, and so when we see a person that's brown, we immediately feel that they should feel the same bond with us that we feel with each other. And it's just simply not true.
Yeah, we got a lot of growing up to do. We need to realize that we don't have shit in common with these goddamn people. I I put some pictures, towards the end. I wanted to wait towards the, latter part of the space to give them to you. But these are pictures I took at, where was I? Elmina Castle in Ghana, the slave castle. Now, if you click on the first one, this is the door of no return in Ghana. It says slave exit to waiting boats. And if you swipe, you'll see the door. They would escort them through that little bitty cramped door to get on the boats. And if you see that water mass, that's the Atlantic. On the other side of the Atlantic was South Carolina. That was a very long trip on a boat. If you swipe one more time, you'll see. I mean, to the third picture, you'll see a hole in the ground. They just let enslaved. This is the morality. This is how nice these people were, right? They let the enslaved Africans. They put them shoulder to shoulder in a room. um, Folks doing number two on themselves, people sick, people rotting, people peeing, and they would just hose it down and down that little hole. That's what that hole is. It was no toilet. They would just hose all the filth into a hole. You walking in filth, slushing around in filth. That's how much morality these people have. Last picture. Keep in mind that's concrete. I want y'all to look at that picture, click on it, and zoom in on it because it's something you need to see. um like I put in my book, I learned something at Elmina. I learned that the Portuguese would intentionally every morning rape enslaved African little girl, 14, whatever, 13, um, with intent of impregnating her. That was the intention. Why? Because these people thought out their new world so well that they knew that they were going to create mixed race people to sow division so we wouldn't come together. So race was used as a weapon, but they didn't just use it. They didn't weaponize race. They had a primary, secondary, tertiary weapon system with that rape. Primary weapon system was to create a mixed race child to say you're smarter than, you're better than, to divide us once we get to the Caribbean or to America or the new world, quote unquote. The secondary weapon system was to sow division amongst women, melanated men and women. They would rape this woman in full view. or this child in full view of the men. You could look out the window and see it. That was intentional. The women could see it too. Logic being, the women are going to look to the men for help, and the men can't help them. Therefore, the men would lose faith. I mean, the women would lose faith in the capability and masculinity of the men. That was how successful has that been, Americans? Well, the tertiary weapon system was to create insanity. Every once in a while, an enslaved an African male would bust out that motherfucker and just go for the jugular of the Portuguese that was raping that child. And once they were done, once they got the person who tried to save the young lady, they would lock him in the hole. That concept of the hole that's in prison was created at Cape Coast and Elmina Castles, respectively. They would lock him in the hole in 100% humidity and 100 degrees without a window, um, with no food until you starve to death. What you're looking at on that wall of concrete is fucking fingernail marks of enslaved African men who tried to help little girls try to claw their goddamn way out of concrete. So after this little lesson in West Africa, some shit I seen with my own eyes and got evidence of, I want somebody in here to come up and tell me about these African morals because I want to fucking hear it. Anybody? Crickets? Yep. Yes, sir, John Horse. You gonna tell me about those morals? What's on your mind, John Horse?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Oh no, I was just gonna say ain't no morals, bro. They ain't got no more. What morals? Ain't no morals. Morals down the toilet. Yeah, in the sewage. Ain't no morals off this, bro. Like, I remember Wani was just speaking about, families and things like that. Like she was talking about like, how the families, how they kind of undercut each other and everything like that. And I remember there was this rapper, I think his name was Maximum Cream or something like that. But he's half foundational Black American and half Nigerian. And he was basically telling the story, like basically saying how like his Nigerian side he don't get along with because he would just see how much they would just undermine and undercut each other and shit like that. Basically, you know what I'm saying, like doing all types of dirtbag shit to each other, you know what I'm saying? And then he realized that, his, foundational Black American side was like totally different. Everybody was like together and shit. And yeah, man, like when it comes to, the morals of Africa, West Africa, West and Central Africa, because Central Africa was also a part of the transatlantic slave trade too. I ain't gonna keep them out of it. Um, yeah, more morality. Yeah, there is no morality, and for me, I've never been to Africa or anything like that. I'm not saying that I'll never go, but I know for a fact I'm never going to fucking Elmina Castle. I'm never going to that. That's just to me, that's a memorial site. Like for me, that's just like a place where, you know, that's not a tourist attraction. That's not something to make money off of. That's not something to make fun of. That you know what I'm saying? That's just something that, the souls scream out there, bro. Like, for me, I just wouldn't do it. That's a militarily, that's to me, for Africa, West Africa, that's a militarily, that's an eyesore, you know. And yeah, that they owe us reparations and the Caribbean reparations too. So I'll end there for now.
I
Yeah.
can understand why you
Go
wouldn't
ahead.
want to go there. Yeah, and I get it. I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't go there, and different people see it a little bit differently. I want to go there because I want to learn how these people thought back then, and I want to connect it to how they think now. I want to know what I'm dealing with when I study a certain type of people. So I understand where you're coming from as well, and I respect that.
Absolutely. And you know what? And another thing too, because y'all was talking about Oprah. I actually think, to be honest with you, we as foundational Black Americans, until West Africa, whatever, you know what I'm saying, until they rectify everything that, when it comes to slavery and stuff like that, I don't think we need to actually lend a helping hand to help them out. I think we need to stop that. We need to be completely honest about the real shit that was going on over there, bro. We need to stop that. Like, yeah, nigga, what the fuck ever, bro. Like, we fighting Europeans, we fighting white supremacy. The Africans are fighting themselves. They not on the same time that we on. Majority of them. Some of them are, but majority of them not. You know what I'm saying? So until they rectify and correct the wrongs that they did to us and stuff like that, and they really put the stomp down and put the boots on the neck of those tribes and shit like that, that was selling people and everything. I think we need to kind of like, the cookout's closed, bro. Like, we not on that kumbaya shit. Fuck it.
Right. Young people, I mean, young people, scholars, we need to keep in mind how important history is. Our enemies know history very well, and they fucking laugh at us with the movies and the. There was a movie that came out some time ago called The Woman King. I've never seen it, never gonna see it because I knew about the Ajoji warriors. Earlier, me and Wani were talking about in the Dahomey, in Benin, there were fucking murderers, like they were vicious, and the king of the Dahomey would sell, have his, uh, I don't even know the word bushel. Is it a bushel of slaves? Is it a freight? I don't know what the fuck you call it, but he would have his batch of slaves for sale. Some of them would be sick, well, the Europeans would be buying the batch, and to show how vicious they were, the Ajoje woman, the king would order the Ajoje women. They were assassins, like a special like military cult of women, to fucking just massacre a slave in front of the Europeans and drink their blood out their jugular. To like the Europeans were scared as fuck. This motherfucker got on my stage and like really said there's no murder in Benin. Like they were so vicious. Let me tell you how vicious the Dahomey warriors, the Ajoji, were. They were so fucking vicious that the Europeans were scared of them. Now y'all know European history, how vicious they are. They were scared to death of Dahomey. But anyway, back to the point. That Woman King movie was praising these murderers, these Ajoji, and I'm gonna put a picture in the jumbotron to show you how they really look from the Smithsonian. These are the Jojs. Oh, I put it in there already. Um, let's see. I think I put it in there. There it is. Bam. Here they go. This is your Woman King. They were not our friends. They would sell some of our ancestors. I know all of us weren't from West Africa, but some of us do have that lineage, like I do on my dad's side. So some of our deep ancestors were rounded up by Joj. So they weren't our fucking friends. Fuck that movie. Um, we're gonna go with. I think that says snow. That's a snowflake. I don't know what to call you, bro. Um, what is that? Snowflake? I don't know what to call you. It's a snowflake on there.
Oh, all right. No, my name is Demetrius. This is my first time ever speaking on space, and just bear with me just for a
Welcome,
second because
Demetrius. Go ahead, take your time. Just as long as you are
I just
respectful to the space, that's fine.
oh yeah, yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Um, I just felt compelled to speak because I just heard that last brother say that he felt as if El Camino Castle, what we were just speaking about, was a memorial. How they were so proud of it and everything. And man, it just moved me because I'm from Texas. And man, down here we have a lot of memorial sites, um, hanging trees. That's what, just to, in layman's terms, that's what they are. And I didn't know. We in elementary we took field trips to these trees. Um, and I just feel like, wow, they. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry,
you
guys.
good. Take your time,
It's
bro.
just it just
Heavy.
bothers me because I feel as though it's like they just need to come down.
What
Point blank. Period.
what
Uh,
what you're having a hard time articulating, bro?
yes, sir.
I studied in graduate school. I studied educational psychology, and
Yes, sir.
what you're having a hard time articulating, and you're just fine. You good. what you're articulating, the wrongness is you can't really describe it, but you know it's something wrong. Well, I'm gonna tell you what's wrong. What is psychological warfare? It's the
Mhm.
system of white supremacy constantly reminding black foundational black American children what their place is in society by you going and showing them some traumatic ass shit where
Bro,
our
we was
ancestors
kids, bro.
we're hanging from
Like
goddamn
you,
trees, getting our ass whooped with John Lewis's, oh, I got my ass whooped in Selma. That's reactivating trauma, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a tool of control. I want y'all to think back. Let me explain it this way. Think back to that movie Get Out. And Get Out, that PhD psychologist lady kept politely asking for questions in the dude's head, the black dude's head, to get him to talk about a traumatic moment. Don't never tell people about your goddamn trauma. And he did. He talked about his mama dying or something. And when she heard that, she started tapping that cup. She was doing an audio response. That's classical conditioning, Pavlov 101. And she she conditioned him to think of the trauma. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, if I could kind of dumb this down a bit, trauma gets your full attention and it gives access to your unconscious mind. You can be controlled through trauma. Trauma gets your attention, bam, and you can learn now. It's like when let me give you a really good example. What did daddy and mama do when you did something wrong? They spanked you, right? That belt hitting your ass got your attention, didn't it? And you start learning. I ain't doing that shit no more. Full attention, access to your unconscious mind. So the system, and I want y'all to hear me very well. The system is activating trauma in our children to program them where the fuck they're supposed to be. By the same time, you got a white kid and a black kid in the same goddamn classroom. The black kid is learning that I'm a slave. Where am I in history? I'm a slave. I'm subservient. I'm getting my ass whooped and I'm hanging from a tree. And what's a white kid learning? The white kid learning I'm George Washington. I'm a slave owner. I'm hanging these motherfuckers from the tree. It's slick psychology, my friend. And those trees do need to come down.
Fresh,
wow.
fresh. Go ahead.
That's
Uh,
I was just going to say that's the age-old argument. A lot of people wanted those concentration camps to go down, but they left them up to
I
remind
just,
people to, you
I
know,
don't, I'm not, I don't know how to articulate my spirituality, but I just feel like if something traumatic happened to anybody inside of a building structure that in the city condemned it, I would think that the okay thing to do would be, knock that building down,
I,
well,
release
they have
whatever.
done that. They've, buildings where serial killers have lived, they've knocked them down. Others, they used it, they turned it like Lizzie Borden and I think Gacy's home. Other
Yeah, but
homes they didn't do.
that's exactly what I'm saying, Miss Wani, is that
They need to put some sage on it, I'll tell you that.
yeah,
Yeah, it needs to
I,
be it needs to be a seance.
yeah.
yeah,
There needs
it,
to be
but
some type of.
it not just the field trip. I'm just saying I'll pass by these places around Juneteenth. It's a gazebo around it, so these are well known attractions, and the only people that I've seen are people that look like me. And who am I to tell them because they look proud to be there? You understand? I haven't ever. I just don't feel compelled to go there and visit the tree where some of my ancestors may have hung from.
You're
But
very
I don't.
right. That is
Mhm.
hurting on a spiritual level. That is just that's too
I
raw.
can't. I can't go.
That's too
I
raw.
can't go to Almena Castle knowing that they purposely were raping girls in front of our people, bro. And literally, you could not do. I don't. I might have ancestral memories, bro, and some shit might go down. I can't. I
A,
can't
a
do it.
lot a lot of people do. A lot of people do have I was scared. I was so scared. That was the last thing we did before we left is go to Cape Coast, which is not close. It's about 6 hours, 7 hour drive from Accra. And I was scared to death. I wanted to opt out really. Some just I didn't want to go. But when I went there, I got mad. I was
Yeah.
angry. But a lot of people break down and start crying. So you're not out of.
Now, I'm going to ask you, Professor. I got mad too, but I don't remember who I was mad at. I was just mad at the time. I didn't, it was not directed properly because I knew that there was more going on than just Europeans coming up.
Oh,
So you know what I mean? I just
yeah.
had anger, but it wasn't like I didn't look at those people doing the tour and say, I hate your guts.
I tell you what happened to me is very that Wani, that's so fascinating. Because at first I was angry at Europeans, and we coming to you fresh. You next up. The Europeans, because the reason why I got fucking pissed at Europeans is we went to a church. It's a church at Elmina Castle, and it's above. It's that courtyard where
Oh wow.
they raped the women, and the Portuguese and the Dutch would be holding service, Christian church service, while they were raping little girls outside, praising the Lord. And I just got so
Well,
fucking mad. And they kept telling me, like, man, one of the tour guides kept telling me, man, hide your camera. Hide your camera. I was like, hide my camera? What the fuck you mean? I'm doing research. They said, hide your camera or they're going to charge you again as press. They're going to charge you again as a press rate. And I was like, what the fuck? So if you look at pictures of me, I'm hiding my camera. I look like I'm pregnant. I got the big ass camera up under my coat. And but I'm glad they did that because that got me. I was like, why in the fuck am I hiding my camera? My could have been sold. My great great granddaddy could have been sold from this motherfucker. Like, and I started looking around. It kind of shocked me it shocked me into reality. And I was like, these motherfuckers really trying to charge me again, and I'm a victim of this shit. And then I started looking around. I was like, wait a minute, it are fucking neighborhoods every direction out here for fucking miles on end. When we was enslaved in Elmina, did nobody come to rescue me? So I got mad. My anger redirected Wani at Africans, bastards.
wow, mine never did until, I started to think logically about what was going on because at that point I had, you know, given them a pass, given them a pass. Oh, they don't know any better. And that's what Pan Africanists taught us to do.
Yeah, no cap. Go ahead, Fresh.
So those were the furious warriors that I was referring to. These bloodthirsty demons, Agoji warriors who were doing the a lot of the raids. But I wanted to tell you something when you brought up that movie The Woman King, which I boycotted. Did not support at all because they did try to give them some type of morality that they never had. It was a lie. It was false. It was pan-Africanism. And so King Gazo was a ruler. He was a real ruler at a certain time, but before him, his brother, because in African traditions, and this is how another way you can tell who do come from slave trading families. Not everybody, because sometimes people can just go to the market and capture some slaves and make a few, whatever, I don't know, whatever they were trading for. But these families, these prominent families who were in position or in these kingdoms, they profit the most, and so they have these same last names. They just continue. It goes, it's a generational. So the brother, let me see what his name was, King Adendas or something like that. But anyways, he sold his mother into slavery in order to secure, a business deal. And so when King Gazo,
Wow.
yeah, when King Gazo was the brother, was the younger brother. This is even more egregious. He sent people that was from his palace, his kingdom, to go over to America to search for his mother. I don't know what part. I read this during my studies, but this was years ago. So they knew what was happening here, you know at that time. I think it was, early, probably late early 1800s. He sent these people over here to look for his mother. I don't know if they ever found her. I don't think so. But yeah, they had to report back to him. So they saw the conditions. They were able to come freely while our people were in bondage, and travel back. So Benin has a lot of just because they were the last kingdom that accrued all the wealth. So they have such egregious stories. You think Ghana has some egregious wait till this door. That's what I was going to tell you too. The door of no return was like a docking boat. That was their, where they pick up the, yeah, and then they did some type of ritual where they will, walk them around,
What's that called,
Tree
Wani?
of, tree of
the
forgetfulness. Nice. But you want us to find our roots. You've done quite a lot to stop us from doing it.
Oh Lord.
And we
And
ask you what the roots are, and you have no answer.
Tree of forgetfulness, my ass. I get back there. I'm in a castle, bro. I'm trying to tell you, I'm gonna crash. I know I'm gonna crash out.
Yes.
I just know.
Wani, Wani, how do they
Yes.
record keep in those countries? How do they keep record of their ancestors and history and things that happened?
Hey,
Somebody
word of
told me they
mouth.
do it on a rock. Somebody said we draw our great grandparents on a rock. What
They
are you
make a
talking
rap
about? What
song about
rock?
it. To piggyback off.
So is a song called "My Birthday Is January 1st"?
The
As a
government.
piggyback off what Fresh said, according to Dr. Snyder, page 5 in Slavery in America, it's he and she says to meet the demands of the market for more slaves, traders stirred up wars amongst I missed. That's the wrong one. The trade. Sorry about that. Trade quote. The trade not only commercialized the economy that changed everyday life for Africans, but it also corrupted them. Allegedly, African kings sold wives with whom they were angry. African parents sold children whom they could not feed, and desperate Africans sold themselves. Barbot told of a son who defeated his royal father's effort to sell him by first selling his father, only to meet on his return home by a fellow tribesman who took his profits and sold him. She's right. They were selling their mamas, they were selling their daddies. This is my opinion. This is not scholarly. I think with all that foolishness of selling your children, selling your daughter, selling your son, selling your mama, I think they made God mad. And they kind of disrupted something spiritual there because in 2023 that place is still in a fucking disarray. Like they can't get it together. They can't get it together
can I
spiritually.
tell you another thing,
Yeah,
Professor?
yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, the president of Uganda, one of them countries, they apologized for slavery just because of that. They felt as if God has, poured, did his, poured his wrath on them or something. They even quoted it. He quoted
And I don't like their apologies. It's very disjointed, and then they
it
try to link
is,
up and do something else. Oh, now let's do business together.
but
It's
No, they're
disingenuous.
just doing
I
one
do feel like
thing.
they feel. I do think that they think they're being punished. I do, and I believe it too.
They are.
Yeah.
It's, they are cursed, bro. Like you got, I mean, millions and millions and millions and millions of souls, bro, who scream out, bro, for justice, bro, for that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you bloodshed that's just innocent for no fucking reason. Just because, you got some broke people that didn't have the Europeans, bro. If they wanted to go to the new world to do everything that they wanted to do, they did not have to do what they did. And that's one of the things that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said. The Europeans did not have to do what they did, but they chose to do it.
Well, I
Choice,
think
bro.
that the Europeans had access to a library, a very special library. Let's leave that there. And they knew about Hermetica. They knew about the law of I forget the name of the law, but it basically karma. They know about that. And the European was very clever in getting permission from the African and basically karmatically putting it on. From a karmatic standpoint, the African tribal chiefs took on all that negative karma. The European was just, I'm innocent. I'm just making a deal, even though you're selling children and shit. The African took on that karmatic. negative energy, and West Africa is still paying for it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get three more speakers and we'll call it a night. We're going to go with Cheryl, Agent Zero, and Mr. Freedom will have the last words. Go ahead, Cheryl. Good to see you.
Hi, good seeing you too. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
I was listening to you talking about I think you said Elmino Castle over in Africa.
Yeah, Elmina, that means the mine.
Okay.
Because the Portuguese went there looking for gold and they didn't find it. They found people. Which you look back at Columbus. Columbus started that shit because Columbus came to Hispaniola. Columbus never made it to America. He made it to what is now Haiti. It used to be called Hispaniola. And Columbus lied and said, "Oh, it's plenty gold here." Never was any. Very small gold amount of gold. So Columbus went back to the Spanish and said, "Look, I couldn't find gold, but I got plenty slaves for you." So the Europeans said, "Well, you know what? Instead of gold, why don't we use people?" The European is crazy, just insane.
Well, I mean, I'm just so. I mean, it's still standing there, like they so proud of it, and it's
It's a
a
money maker.
like a tourist spot. But I don't know. Now let me ask you this: the gas chambers in Germany, are they still standing as a Yes. moneymaker?
Yeah,
Yes, they are. I don't They know if they're are. making money. Are they? Yeah, I think they are making money on some of them, right?
I
Or
don't
some of
know.
them might be free. But yes, they're still standing. And they Oh, must be generating money somehow to maintain them. because I was just thinking of something so horrific. It should be not forget our history, but not to be a moneymaker, but torn down. But you are absolutely right. I mean, they are reaping karma. I mean, I was watching a podcast earlier, watching where these people were being deported back to Africa, and just a small part of me was like, "Oh my God, look what they're going back to," because they was talking about people who've been here for over 20 years, and I was like, they gotten so used to living over here. Look what they going back to. But then I snapped back and I said, well, "Hey, I just can't allow myself to feel sorry for them."
They don't need to live in a place that they don't need to live and reap the benefits of the people that they sold.
Well,
They don't need to.
what what
Absolutely.
what I would like
Exactly.
for us to do is start feeling sorry for ourselves, for our own people, and then let's think mathematically. You remember, please excuse my dear Sally. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, subtraction. Let's think of priorities. It's okay to have empathy, but have empathy for your own kind first, and then we once our all our children are good, we can move on to them.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, we're gonna move on to Cheryl. Did you land your plane, love? I didn't know if you did.
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. I appreciate your contribution. We're gonna go to Agent Zero, and Mr. Freedom will have the last words. Go ahead, Agent Zero.
What's going on, Professor? What's up, Nikki? What's up,
What's up,
Wani? Hey,
brother?
room. How y'all
Doing
doing?
well.
Not much, man. I know it's been a long time since y'all heard from me. But um, I was sitting here thinking, like, you know, a couple weeks ago, you really pointed out how they were complicit, how deep they were complicit in the slave trade. It wasn't no by mistake or by accident or they didn't know no better. They fully 100% knew what they was doing, right? Um, and it makes me wonder. I was just sitting here thinking again that, damn, how deep the connections go about, them being complicit with the Europeans about selling us. Like, if you look over here, it's plantations that still exist, that they still give tours of, they still make money off of, that white people go to and get married at, or whatever, whatever. But all of that was built on our demise, right? So you mentioned about how the castle, they charge people to come there and see and blah 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 or whatever, right? So from the best of my knowledge, they took and sold slaves all over Africa, right? In the transatlantic slave trade, correct?
That's true. Yes.
Oh, okay, so we need to gather up information on all of those places and see what we can do about shutting that shit down. Are you saying something,
Oh,
Professor?
yeah,
Chatty
yeah, I
what?
was. I had
Chatty
him.
what down?
Of us going there to go see that shit, to awakening people, to stop breaking up the mindset of, hey, we're going to go see this place like it's a tour, like it's something to go see. Like that shit needs to stop because that means they're still making money off of us.
Yeah, and that's a thing. Since they made money off us, let them keep charging. But we need to charge a goddamn surtax on that goddamn thing. I want some money off those tours.
Yeah, either they come up off of some money or something need to be done about that. But excuse me, that shit is not cool. Not
Oop.
cool at all. And I'm kind of bothered by sitting here thinking about it. I'm kind of bothered, but yeah, that's just not cool at all. If you look at if you believe, I believe in what you throw out come back to you.
Yep.
Whatever you sow, you gonna get back.
Yep.
If you look at how Europe raped and robbed the world two different times, right? What wound up happening to Europe? Two world wars. America had slaves. What happened? Over the slaves, a brother turned on brother, and there was a civil war here. And you can find many examples of that all over the earth, right? When a people
Right.
are done wrong, something comes to that nation and destroys it, or that continent and destroys it, right? I do believe
Right.
100% that the shit that Africans is going through now, that they are cursed.
They're paying for it. They sold us, and they came over here pretending like they were our brothers and
Yeah,
shit. And I know I get flack for that, but I don't give a fuck because I was in the jungle with those. I'm sure Wani could back me up for this. Like there are groups of people in Africa who are very innocent, but for the most part, I would say they don't make it over here. The people that make it over here are rich people. Where they get the money from? They got the money from selling
right.
us.
But at the same time, too, Professor, I kind of believe too that a person can throw out so much bad shit before they leave the earth that they won't be able to pay for it all, and that shit'll get passed down to their children or to their ancestors rather, or to their descendants
Yeah.
rather, right? So I don't care. I don't feel sorry for who's ever there or stuck there or born there or it's all for a reason. It's all for a reason. So if they got to pay for their father's sins, then so be it.
I do believe that the white supremacists here in the United States know that wholeheartedly and clearly because their children's children will inherit the blood that they owe.
And you think about this right here: whose birth rates are low?
Yeah, you see it. You know what you're looking at. You know exactly what
They
you're
they
looking
didn't they
at.
done threw out so much sin that they're not even able to pass on their essence.
Yeah, if you look at the picture I just put in the jumbotron, that's from Elmina Castle. I'm standing in Elmina, so what I was told, there's a lot we don't know. Number one, look at all the neighborhoods around. That's just one direction. There's neighborhoods in every direction, except for the sea. Why didn't they come break us out? Number two, and those were fucking ancient buildings, some of them, so they weren't just built. Number two, let me tell you something not talked about. I'm standing at Elmina. Elmina, the enslaved Africans that were put at Elmina were sent to the Caribbean, to Haiti, to Puerto Rico. Um, behind me, up on that hill, was Cape Coast. That's where the foundational Black American came from. So when we had to walk down that big ass hill to the sea. But my point of bringing this up is, according to Dr. Chancellor Williams, they split us up because we were two different tribes of people. We were totally two different groups way back then. So we never had anything in common with these people. Chancellor Williams kind of hints that we were descendants of the Egyptians, but I'm still doing research on
I,
that. Um,
I'm
Go
sorry, I
ahead.
had one more question, Professor. So
Go
that
ahead.
building that you posted, that you said was drenched in blood, I
Yeah.
wonder, was that any blood? Was any of that blood spilled from some of us that was put into the transatlantic slave trade, or that was going to get shipped off?
I don't know how old that building is.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That's a good question.
None
You
that
know,
shit is cursed.
yeah, it's cursed. Because if it is, it's cursed already. Because how can you drench your blood in building a building in blood and so much blood that you're pulling that the iron out of the blood is sticking to the building? You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, that shit's
and then
wild.
if you're doing it, and if you did it with some people that you captured with the purpose of enslaving, that's even worse. I want no parts of nothing over there. When I say nothing over there, I mean nothing over there. I don't want to visit there. Excuse me. I don't want to visit there. I don't want to experience that culture. I don't want to. I don't want none of the food. None of that. That whole place is cursed and everything from it. And I land my plane.
Yeah, he was that dude was pissing me off because he was he was lying. I don't know what's it with them motherfuckers just lying like they think we stupid or something. Like when I was in Ghana last time I was there, people, the Ghanaians, I didn't speak their language. They spoke English, but like I didn't know what to say to them. I was obviously a visitor, and I just wanted to. I wasn't gonna shoot breeze. I wanted to know what was going on. New environment. When I'm in new environments, I shut the fuck up and I just sit around and look and and listen. I didn't know if someone was gonna jump out the jungle and eat me. Actually, no cap. But they were just talking the whole time of how terrified they were of Benin people. So you telling me to tell me they made that up? And it's a tomb. I'm looking at the years of it. It says oh wow. Let's see. It's 200 years ceremonial tomb built 200 years. Yeah, it could be. Could be some of ours. It was 200 years ago. What year is it? 2000 um 2000. Let me do some math right quick. 2025. I'm doing a little bit of math right quick. 2025 minus 200. 1825. You damn right. That
Oh,
could be some of our
wow.
blood. Hell yeah, that could be some of our blood. Probably is.
Professor, when I looked at the building and seen it, that's the
Hmm.
that's the first thing that popped in my mind. It's like I felt it almost.
It's my blood.
Yeah.
Ugh.
They never have apologized properly as a group, and they continue to scam on our names. That's what I don't like. They'll go before the Durban conference and say, our people were kidnapped. You should give us money for that. What?
Oh, it's coming. Yeah, just let a couple millennials get in office. It's coming, ladies and
I land my
gentlemen.
plane, y'all.
Appreciate you, Agent Zero. Ladies and gentlemen, the Marine Corps has AFRICOM, a detachment in Africa. Africa has resources. It's only a matter of time
That's exactly why I came
before
on stage. Perfect.
it's a matter of fucking time. And once it happens, I want my reparations for slavery, Marines. Go ahead, Mr. Freedom. You got the last
Couldn't
words.
couldn't be more perfect. Thank you so much for bringing me
The
up.
universe is aligned, my friend.
It
Go ahead.
so is. Oh my goodness. Um, wow. Thank you so much for this space. It's just it's been so powerful listening and hearing everything and everyone sharing. I just wanted to talk about how, if y'all remember, um, the African leader Muammar Gaddafi was trying to send $1 billion to um, the Nation of Islam through our elder Farrakhan, right? And the U.S. government, which I believe was these Democrats, part of the Uniparty, or just this shadow government, this evil period of time we was in, blocked it. Did anybody remember that? Well, that happened. But there's something interesting that's occurring right now. Trump keeps talking about a golden age, golden age, golden age, and it's so important because he's using what he calls peace through strength, and us pushing for reparations, okay, and us voting as a block, or choosing not to vote as a block, but the choice that we made, us waking up, and you got to thank Tariq for what he did, because he coined that, or was giving the um, basically he's the reason why the term woke matters, because we were asleep, right? We were asleep, but now we're awakened with the knowledge that he put out, and it took an FBA to do it, right? Let's remember that it took an FBA to do it. There was a lot of people that came from other countries that tried to do the same thing. I should know that. And they weren't able, Pan Africanists weren't able to do it because they didn't have the right spirit. Okay, but I wanted to say, because just like the professor said, if they don't if they don't atone for what they did, and I'm talking about with them paying reparations, because a lot of that started over there. in Africa. A lot of that started over there in Africa. I'm including Moors as well. Okay, a lot of that started over there. If they don't do it, they're going to be forced to do it. And so I was so glad to see that the Ghanaian, no, my bad, not the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, the president there, his name is Felix. He was offering $20 trillion worth of minerals in a deal to the U.S. government. I just like what happened with the Nation of Islam and Gaddafi. I would hope that we're focused on intercepting some of those trillions and putting pressure on those nations because there's many more trillions to go. I've heard of things where there's like trillion people. Some of those African leaders, they have trillions of dollars of diamonds, and so much more of mineral wealth that they've just squandered. And it's sitting on it, and it should go towards reparations. So just keep pushing for reparations. Keep speaking about it. Don't get tired of it, and press these American leaders. And the last thing I'll say is this: I'll post this video down in the pill or on my page. But there's a video of Trump, and he talks about he wished that he was a smart black man. Um, you might want to discount that for whatever it is, but that's something very important to say. These people come from they come from powerful families. So he didn't just say that just because he wasn't that young either when he said it. He said that for a reason, and it should give some comfort that somebody like that is in office that actually really appreciates us for who we are. So I just wanted to share that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed y'all tonight. In recap, did West Africans bury their slaves? Fuck yeah, they buried them alive with them. And are FBA morals equal to Nigerian morals? Hell no. We've never painted a building in blood. So much blood that it's still rusting to the day from the iron in the goddamn blood. Sit and think about that. We've never raped children to create a weaponized mixed race group, sold them into slavery, let the men and women see that so they could be divided against one another, and punish the men who tried to save the little girl by locking them in a room, making them go crazy to where they would scratch holes in concrete with their goddamn fingernails. I would say, given that submission, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have the same moral aptitude. And I would humbly submit that certain places in West Africa, including Nigeria and Benin, owe us goddamn money for selling us. So get the fuck out my face with that brother shit and give me my gold, give me my chocolate, give me my cocoa, or give me my goddamn beads. I'll take what I can get. I love you all. Look in the Jumbotron, you'll see Onthespotts and Nick at the Gods Cash App. Likewise, you'll see Our Story Publications if you want to copy my book, where I have textual evidence proving that the Portuguese raped us and made mixed race children to use as warfare. Yes, ma'am. The whole yes sir, yes ma'am. That whole good hair shit came from Elmina Castle. The Portuguese created it as psychological warfare. We can meet up on Tariq's space. The word on the street is Tariq is on. If you want to copy my book, put $25 on Our Story Publications. Put your full address, and I'll send it out to you in a couple days. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all on Tariq's. Any last words, Wani?
Good night.
Nikki?
Good night, Professor. Good night, Wani.
Good night, brother. Any last words, Nikki? Nikki's already on Tariq's. All right, rendezvous spot, Tariq's. Peace out.